bow their heads. Lord, I offer up the members of the City Commission. May the work of their hands be blessed, and send the spirit of wisdom upon them as they discuss and deliberate and make decisions for the city of San Juan. Amen.
Amen. You can face the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All may be seated. Under public comments, we have Ramiro Treviño. Can you come forward, please? Section 5A, presentation of a proclamation recognizing retiree Tomas Cruz, Senior Utilities Department. We have been very blessed to have an employee as Mr. Cruz. Mr. Cruz, can you come forward? Tomas Cruz has been with the city of San Juan for over 42 years, and he has chosen to retire. We did take time to recognize Mr. Cruz at our company party, but I thought it'd be most appropriate that we take time today during one of our city meetings. I'm going to ask Mr. Cruz to please come this way. I'm going to read the proclamation for Tomas Cruz Sr., and it states, on December 19th, 2014, after 42 years of dedicated service, Mr. Tomas Cruz Sr. has retired from the city of San Juan. And whereas Mr. Tomas Cruz Sr. was employed by the city of San Juan on December the 19th, 1972 in the Parks and Recreation Department, then moved to the Streets and Brush Department, then going and transferred to the Sanitation Sewer Department, was asked by the city to be an animal warden, and finally in the Utilities Department as a heavy machine operator up until his retirement. Tomas' greatest accomplishments was working for the citizens of San Juan. And also, he is the father of the sons Isidora and Aurelia Cruz, brother to 3 sisters and 1 brother. Mr. Cruz has 4 boys, Tomas Cruz Jr., Oscar Cruz, Mark A. Cruz, and James Cruz, 1 granddaughter, Alma S. Cruz. It is through his leadership of our city that we will miss the active participation of Tomas Cruz in the day-to-day operations in serving the city. He has dedicated his interest and devotion to duty, has been a valuable effect and efficiency and great for morale of his co-workers. We wish to extend to him our sincerest appreciation for his outstanding performance of duty. And whereas through all these various endeavors, he has won the highest regard of all his associates, the admiration of citizens throughout the community, and the City Commission. The City of San Juan wishes you a long and happy and productive retirement. And now therefore be it resolved that I, San Juanita Sanchez, by the power vested in me as Mayor of the City of San Juan, along with Mayor Pro Tem Armando Garza Jr., Commissioners Mario Garza, Jesse Ramirez, and Heriberto Suarez, proclaim today, January 13th, 2015, as Tomas Cruz Senior Day. Congratulations. And also part of what we have and do for our employees, a little small token of appreciation. It's how many dollars per year? 25. Not sure what the math is, but I hope it helps for a good party or trip, Mr. Tomas. And I want to also present you with the plaque that reads, the City of San Juan wishes to present Tomas Cruz Sr. with this retirement award for your 42 years of dedication and service to the city this year of 2014 that just passed. Thank you very much. You want to take pictures? I'm going to go ahead and go on to item C. We'll come back to item B once all the parties are present. Item C, discuss and consider possible action regarding FEMA funding for the TSSI shelter. Chief Garza.
Mayor, Commissioners,
Good evening.
I attended that meeting back in December on the 11th in reference to the award that we got for the safe shelter. I'm going to recommend that due to the time of limitations for construction completion and all that, I'm recommending and requesting your approval to just go ahead and draft up a letter and release those 2.4 million. Due to the fact of the time, the building needs to be constructed within 24 months. All completed, the structure needs to be completely built by 2016, and I don't think we will be able to meet that timeline. And also, of course, our share is 25%, and I don't think we're in a situation to where we can actually build or consider building.
What's the total on that 25%?
25%, it's,
About
you're looking at
300 and
a little bit,
something
yes, sir. Yeah, and that's just the shell itself. You still have to put build a parking lot. It's part of the requirements. So due to the time frame, time ran out, so I'm recommending that with your approval to just go ahead and release those funds back to the state.
Is there a motion to that effect?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign.
Opposed?
Thank you, Chief. Item D, presentation of the proposed increase of commercial garbage rates. Mr. Gonzalez and Mr. Gomez.
Good evening, Mayor, City Commissioners. Yes, Mayor, we're going to go ahead and discuss the commercial garbage service presentation. We update some of this information. Let's see. And the first slide that we're going to discuss is the direct cost of the commercial garbage services, which includes several items. Okay, let's see. It's the second slide, remember. Okay. Yes, as you can see, we have the fuel cost, the waste disposal, repairs and insurance, and supplies column, the wages, and the vehicles. And the vehicles computed for the depreciation. We took a 10-year, basically that's a depreciation expense. And so that comes out to $36,000 for 2 vehicles. That takes care of the commercial garbage. And on the fiscal year end 2013, our actual numbers were $45,013, and the waste disposal was $80,404, and the repairs and insurance $37,471, and the wages was $28,960, and the vehicles expense $36,000, so they totaled to $234,848. And this previous fiscal year just ended. The fuel went down $34,420. The wage disposal is about a little bit higher, $96,720. Repairs and insurance, $31,351. Wages, $29,820. And again, we took the depreciation straight line, which is totals to $228,311. On the second slide, we have the commercial garbage service rates comparison, and I want to discuss where the current rates is and the proposed new rate. And I want to mention just, the highest. We want to implement one time for a 300-gallon. Currently, we don't have that available, and we would like to increase it, proposing to for $74.11. The 300-gallon two times pickup is $61.75. We would like to propose to increase it to $135.83, so it's a difference of $74.08 compared to some other cities. I know this is VAR rates. I mean, they have some of these cities have outsourced to different companies, but to simplify it, that's how much the citizens pay for that service and that city borderline. And so Alamo is $136.31, which is.
How many of those are outsourced?
I know that FART outsource in Westlaco. In Alamo, I believe do they have to outsource, Alamo? I believe okay. Okay, so those are outsourced.
Private
services.
companies
Private
that are
companies that take care of that process. On the 300-gallon, 3 times pickup, our current rate is $123.50, and we're proposing going up to $186.25, which is a difference of $72.75. I guess on VAR rates or Westlaco rates, it's the highest at $209.68. On the 6 cubic yard dumpster with 2 times pickup per week, it's $185.25. That's our charge, and we're proposing to increase to $238.39. That's a difference of $53.14. And Westlaco being the most expensive at $240.57. The 8 cubic yard dumpster, which is 3 times a week, the current rate is $307, and we want to increase that to $349.31. So that's a difference of $42.31.
Mr. Gonzalez, the 1 gallon is going to be a new program or offer, correct? Okay, and and for 2 times, how many of those do we currently have? Yeah, mhm.
That's on the next slide.
Okay, go ahead.
And let me turn over to the next slide. We have 165 accounts. As you can see, the 300-gallon is 90 accounts twice a week. 3 times a week when a 300-gallon is 8 accounts. 6 cubic yard, 25 accounts 2 times a week. And 8 cubic yards, we have 42 accounts 3 times a week. And as far as the revenue, you see the breakdown, which is totals to $139,187 combined for all 165 accounts. And so if we proposed fee, we implement that, that will increase to $231,501. So that's a difference of $92,314. Okay. And on the next slide, I give you like a little bit of analysis on the revenue for the fiscal year end 2014 that we have on the revenue on the commercial garbage, 139,187. And as a direct cost that we discussed on the previous slide, we have 228,311. So just an analysis, just to know how are we doing compared to the direct cost to provide the service is 89,124 that we're basically under. And on the proposed new income fee, that would increase based on the rates that we discussed to 231,501. And the direct cost, which is we used in last year's to simplify it, that would be 228,311. So that's basically a gain based on the proposed fee of 3,190. And basically, the amount of resources to provide the service based on the two garbage vehicles, the travel, to cost, to go to the different locations, the repairs and maintenance. I know that probably Mr. Gonzalez is the one that can provide more information about the actual cost and repairs on the tires. I know we discussed that. And also the equipment and the personnel. And on the average, it costs the city about $1,384 per commercial account, and we bill on an average $844 per commercial account. So that's a difference of $540. And so by implementing the proposed fee, that would increase the $844 per account to $108 per commercial account. So that would be a difference about $19 on per account. Is there something that you would like to add, Mr.
No,
Gonzalez?
just to let you know, Mayor and Commissioner, that we use a front loader and a side loader to go to commercial pickups for our apartments, our businesses, and they're pretty better down, and we're putting a lot of money into them. As a matter of fact, our front loader is a 08, 2008 model, and our side loader is a 2011. That one's fairly new, but the wear and tear on them on a daily basis, and when we do this, it's setting up, and I really recommend that we do go with a proposal that we are recommending, so we can offset the deficit on it. But other than that, it's only affecting our commercial accounts, and we're doing fine. Isaac and I are talking, see if we can find ways as to how to offset this deficit that we have. So we'll work on that, and we'll work on some more numbers and see what we can come up with.
What are you recommending for the accounts that are past due? It's a lot of money, and what are you, one, in collecting, two, in preventing that?
Collecting that, I think we'll have to send it to a third party. I think last time that we came by, we talked to our city attorney, pass it on to them, have a third party collect on that. And on the our active accounts, I think those that, we give them a grace period of 10 working days, and if not, we'll just have to collect the continuous.
Do you know if a third party has been contacted or anything like that?
What I recommended last time was talk to our legals and have them look into it, because it's quite a bit of money.
The ordinance that we had discussed regarding exclusivity to the city of San Juan,
Yes,
when did it come into effect?
I don't know off the top of my head.
Did we have that, do you have that as final approval and coming to effect before these accounts are?
We'll come before you on that, Mayor. Right now, really, we're looking at the numbers so we can try to, get, and then we'll just come into and put a package on the ordinance itself. Recommend, I don't want any other business coming to our city.
It's in the same ordinance.
It's the same ordinance?
It's the same ordinance.
Okay.
The exclusivity and the garbage rates is all in the same ordinance.
Within this ordinance that you're proposing?
Yes.
The language is in here?
Yes, I mean, there's a draft. Mayor, I don't know if it's attached to,
I think it was attached to this.
I don't think it was attached, but it was attached to the previous.
To the previous one.
Okay, well,
to
it's
the
not in this
previous
one.
ones. But I don't, because this one is just a presentation,
Presentation by numbers.
and so, but there is a draft attached in the
Okay,
previous.
so the ordinances that we're looking didn't include it, that's all the other fees, is that correct, Mr. Gomez? We're gonna come back and review this one, once we got, questions answered on that. Do you have any questions? I really appreciate this is more, definitely closer to what I personally was looking for in the assessment. I think you've kind of cleared up the ambiguity and are able to see our annual investment in and what we're losing. And then the comparable, I guess the only thing that comes into mind is that those other companies, of course, they're commercial companies, and they've got private companies, and they're still making a profit. We're in it to break even is basically what we're trying to do, make sure we're not losing money. So I feel that that's the information I have is sufficient to be able to make that decision. And so when you bring it back, you're going to bring it back as an ordinance, is that correct? And I saw that this is another one. As far as the fees, that's another one that got adjusted. Are there any comments from the commission regarding any of these fees? Thank you very much. Appreciate it. I'd like to go back. Are we ready, Mr. Jaime? On item B, presentation of proposed application in collaboration with the PHA ISD for environmental education grants program funding through the Environmental Protection Agency. Mr. Ponce and Ms. Borrego. I'm sorry, sir.
Good evening, members of the commission,
evening.
Mayor Pro Tem. We're going to present to you today a brief presentation. We've been presented with the opportunity to apply for a grant. It is very short notice. We only have about a month's time to get everything in. And we're going to go over today just a few things to give some perspective of what the grant entails. I'm sorry, I'm making sure if I can hold this thing up.
A little bit taller than most of the others.
Just a little bit. As the commission is aware, we have our wetlands that are in place. That's about 7.5 acres. That was commissioned in 2009 from a previous grant. Of course, in the goal of the wetlands, it kind of serves as a filter, it's a man-made natural habitat that serves as a filter for wastewater that runs through the Arroyo Colorado. And of course, it also serves as an attraction for wildlife and for ecotourism. It serves as a park as well. And since the inception of the park, of the wetlands, we have kept upkeep, but it's been minimal. And currently, it's at the point where we do need to put more work into it and to bring it back up to par. And being a partner in this grant will allow us, give us the opportunity to get back to where it needs to be. And with the initiative and the partnership, I'm sorry, I skipped that part. The partnership is actually between the Friends of the Rio Grande. It's a nonprofit organization, and it's also between the PSJ Independent School District and also Texas Parks and Wildlife. And the goals of this initiative would be obviously to combat invasive species and maintain the current ecosystem, to restore the already existing project, to develop educational programs and tours, and that's where PSJ would come in, and Parks and Wildlife. There's some possibility of moving a portable building and having it established here at the wetlands, having it as kind of like a resource center. It will allow us to have more presence in the park, specifically also on the weekends. A lot of it based on volunteer programs that will be created in conjunction with PSJ. It will give us more access to the community as well once we're able to provide better upkeep for the park. And of course, again, with education being in mind, it will allow us to educate the community on environmental issues as well. And as I mentioned before, so our partners would be PSJA. Representing the city on the grant would be myself, would be Mr. Jaime, my assistant director. It would be Ms. Borrego, who is our grants and compliance coordinator. Representing PSJA would be Belinda Vargas from PHJ STEM, Mr. Williams from Educational Grounds and Gardens, Mr. Science, the Director for Career and Technical Education, and then representing the Friends of Rio Grande, or the Wildlife Corridor, would be Giselle Chapa, and representing the Santa Ana National Wildlife Refuge. I'll go ahead and turn the microphone over to Ms. Borrego, who's going to give you a little more details about the grant that we're applying for.
Good evening, Commission.
Good evening.
After reviewing the grant, here are a few of the facts that I feel like you should be aware of. The grant is administered by the Environmental Protection Agency, and the deadline for application is February 2nd, 2015. The project period is from January 1st, 2015 through January 1st, 2017. It could be a 1 to 2 year project depending on how long we want the program to last. The value of the award is up to $192,200. We have a match fund, 25%, non-federal funds. If we decided to go for the max of 192, we would have to bring forward $48,000 for the total project cost. That match would be divided between all of the agencies that are going to be partaking in the project, and the match can be cash or in kind. In kind would be salary, supplies, and materials. As he mentioned earlier, the grant application would be completed by the Friends of the Wildlife Corridor, but all of the grant partners would be helping in writing the actual grant, establishing what we're going to bring towards the grant. As far as the grant's concerned, the program has to support environmental education to develop knowledgeable and responsible citizens. We'll be doing that by creating educational tours, putting up signage throughout the park, having hands-on learning. PSJ would be supplying a science lab mobile unit, and they would bring in students to do research on the water and plant life.
But that's a quick question.
Sure.
So the grant's going to help us to continue doing educational tours? Or is it going to replace, like right now they have to pay when they do the educational tours, so now we would provide that service at no cost? Or what's the differentiation there?
Well, at this point in time, Mayor Pro Tem, our tours are kind of limited. This would kind of enhance what's already there.
So we'll be able to do
Yes,
more because of it? That's great.
It will be an enhancement to what's currently there.
Okay.
And essentially, with a partnership, we'll have more insight from PSJ and from the Parks and Wildlife to have the ability to offer more programs.
Offer more.
Yeah, so it'll be definitely a growth project.
So, yeah, expand from what we're presently doing.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Williams, did you want to add something?
Yes, I might be able to shed a little bit of light, excuse me, Ms. Mayor and Commissioner.
Hey,
Sir, Alan Williams, I represent PSJA ISD, and I'm also kind of speaking on behalf, trying to speak, excuse me, from Isela Chapa, the manager at Santa Ana National Wildlife Refuge. She's the one that approached us, PSJA, about a week ago and explained to us what was going on with this grant. Because Dr. King and PSJA and the Kate department have been very proactive in desiring to have a learning opportunity at the San Juan wetlands, it jumped to our forefront that this grant would be a wonderful opportunity to take a big portion of these funds to go back into the development of the wetlands, of the polishing ponds, and the educational elements of having our kids involved in some of the actual maintenance of regulating the stop blocks on the gates to adjust the water flows. And let me go back just a minute. The in-kind contribution, PSJA has already set aside $100,000 to construct 2 greenhouses on 2 different campuses. Those greenhouses will be used by our horticulture students to propagate native plants, which could then be planted back into the actual wetlands and the perimeter of the wetlands to bring about more of the ultimate goal of polishing the water inside the wetlands, as well as creating habitat for the native wildlife that would also act as an attractive issue to the nature tourism and to the bird watchers.
Something that would, do you have a plan as to
We-
cleanup of the cattails, which seems to be the,
Jimmy Stout is the urban and wildlife biologist with Texas Parks and Wildlife. He's the one, he's actually come out with Renee Jaime, myself, JJ, and kind of gone over some of the basic plans on what should be done and could be done. He implements the strategies at Estero Llano Grande State Park. in Weslaco on how to control their cattails. And I have kind of briefed myself on the owners and operational manual of the San Juan wetlands, and it really does spell it out pretty clearly what needs to be done and when it needs to be done. It is a little bit subjective to weather conditions, but now we're at a point where everybody's a little bit confused because it's gotten a little out of hand, and there's not a page to turn to that says, okay, here's what you can start to do if you're at this current point you are right now. But I think I'm confident with Jimmy's, Isela's, myself, and other people's, the city's collaboration on what to do, we can come up with a very, maybe not simple solution, but well, it would be simple, but it would take some concentrated effort to bring it back to what it was and where it needs to be.
And a program for sustainability. So
Absolutely, absolutely. One of the big elements, excuse me, just one second, that's real important for everybody to understand, in order for the polishing ponds to work properly, it must be maintained at least once a week with regulating the water flows. Right now, the way I'm understanding it, the input from the wastewater management plant pumps 125 gallons per minute into the polishing ponds. So it's a 180,000 gallons a day that goes into it, and most of that will flow back out of it, minus evaporation and absorption. So the city of San Juan does not need to come up with matching funds for the in-kind grant. That would be on the behalf of PSJA in the form of the grant, the funds for the greenhouses. So we really do, PSJA really wants to partner up with the city. And we're meeting tomorrow with Isela at 10 o'clock at Santa Ana to start going over the drafting of this grant, and I would be happy to meet with you or brief you all on how that process goes.
that's beautiful. I love that
Okay?
idea. And also, I guess once we get past the application and then the granting, it sounds like it's a very good possibility. We would then, within that same instrument, be able to determine, we talk about staff and supervision, who exactly the staff would belong to and who would.
Exactly, and that was one thing that excited Isela. We partnered up, PSJA ISD, with Santa Ana about a year ago and received a $45,650 grant to put into habitat creation on 3 of our school campuses and to educate the public with interpretive signage. What it was specific to was actually plants and materials and signage. It had nothing to do with funds for educators. This particular grant has funds to pay staff that would be involved in the educational process. And one thing that's real important for me, for y'all to fully understand, is the way I see that grants are going right now, federal grants, the more partnerships that take place between the grant applicants and the more emphasis that it's on community involvement, community enhancement, and especially education, I think there's a lot more weight and value that is given to those those people applying, okay? And if we can, oh yeah.
Let me
Lynn, I'm
see.
sorry.
Let me
Oh, I'm
see if
sorry.
Ms. Borrego, is there something else that you wanted to add before, or do it in conjunction with what they're saying? Very good.
I just wanted to say one thing, to reiterate what Mr. Williams is saying. Chanel and I were actually in the process of looking for grants so we can try to reestablish the wetlands again where they should be. Especially, we're going to reach out to PSJA to ask for some of their expertise and to connect us with Texas Park and Wildlife, so we can get, as you mentioned, the cattails, so we can try to eradicate some of these problems that have come up. So this grant kind of came on just in time for us to have some type of solution to the problem that we're faced at. So it really came at the right time, and that's why we're kind of approached it very. It came very rapidly, but we're planning to meet tomorrow, as Mr. Williams said, so we can try to kind of figure out the ins and outs of the grant. But for the most part, grant or no grant, as far as our in-kind, and Mr. Williams obviously shared that PSJ was to provide that, we still have to provide the upkeep and the maintenance that we're currently doing. So that in a sense is already providing in-kind service as far as representative to the grant. So we would still continue to do our part. The grant essentially would be additional funds to help us, again, restore what's in place.
This is a one-time grant, or is there a certain year longevity on it? Or once it's done initially, then it's up to us to continue as partners, is that correct? The long term? Okay. Ms. Vargas, is that correct?
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Belinda Vargas, and I'm from the Career and Technology Department, and we go and we visit once a year for Earth Day. And I didn't think that was enough, so I went to Dallas to go see other wetlands and get some ideas. This is one of our students, one of our welding students, and we're talking about upkeep. Well, this is Mr. Mario Chavez, and we have our engineering department, and this is a picture where they did a 3D model, which is still printing. It takes 87 hours to print so that we could show you all, but since it was so fast, we didn't have enough time. And this is what one of the structures that our engineers made.
Those are what
Then
you
Ms.
spoke about.
He's one of the welders that weld the dome part. And then our construction, they would lay the bricks for the students to sit as the teacher teaches their class. Because now we see that everybody does computers, iPads. They don't go out there to see actually what's out there. And we have something beautiful here that has just, we can help to make it better and educate our students to love what we have here at San Juan, what we have in our backyard. This is also like a sculpture that they can build for wind velocity, like for 5th graders. Here's another one that the welders can do. Then our construction, what we're planning is to do birdhouses, so we can attract the birders to come to San Juan, because we already have some birds there, but if we make it look more presentable, I think we can attract more people, not only PSJ, but people from other cities to come down to San Juan and see our beautiful city. And these birdhouses can be as simple as possible or as complicated as possible. So we're planning to make some kind of competition so that the kids can be interested and they themselves win something, and then it'll have their name on it. These are just benches creatively made. And then this would be like a little classroom for our small students, you know, our elementary students. And this is more detailed. You can see the benches that our construction students can make. We would also like to make a little theater for our pre-K and our kinder, and with puppets, they can talk about science. We would like also something to walk into the water instead of just seeing it from afar and taking the water samples, if they could actually walk out there and see what it is, especially for our smaller students. This is just a plant, and it's just got a little description right there, but we've got an AV department that could do awesome and actually take the picture of the bird or the plant and tell you where it comes from, the phylum, and etc. So these are just a few things that we would love to do for the city. I'm born here, I've been here all my life, and I think we can do something with our students, like I said. And they're willing to do it, and they live competitive. After we have it the way that we'd like it, then we'd like each club that we have to own a piece. This would be the business part, this would be the medical part, this would be the engineering part, this would be the construction part. We'll have them by pathways, and then they can just upkeep it once we've done. And with your approval, what we want, what you want, what Santa Ana wants, and then they just upkeep it.
Yes, 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 yes. Mr. Chavez, I think that's a great opportunity for you and your other fellow classmates. What are you, senior, junior? I see. There you go.
You know, okay, I was part of building this. You can show them what, you know, you've produced, you know, while you're growing up in San Juan.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. And I think that, you know, this is more than I think we were actually looking at on the short-term basis. And now to think that it all falls in place. It's a wonderful, I think, partnership that we look to continue cultivating and nurturing, and definitely allowing those kind of opportunities for our students. But more than anything else, we open up an entire ecotourism for our community, and it's wonderful. So I do definitely hope that, I'm sure that we would approve this and look forward to whatever we're needing to do as we go along, and looking forward to that partnerships with all of those entities, and it looks really wonderful.
And we would
So-
love to come back and show you, once we have our 3D, everything printed out and everything more into scope as to what we want, we can bring the rest of the students. This was like last minute. I asked him like 2 hours ago, can you come? So they're very dedicated. We already have 5 teachers on board on the committee, and then we already have several students on board. So we still haven't gotten all the word out. It was like he said, that it was just real quick.
When is
So-
the deadline for the grant application? February 1st, so
Right
right
around
around
the
the corner.
We gotta move on
That's
it.
why we're rushing.
And where are we on the application process?
We're starting drafting tomorrow.
Okay,
out at
great.
Santa Ana.
But you all full faith that you'll be ready to?
We've done the last minute crunch on a couple of others.
Those are the best ones.
Well, I think it's a great idea. I think that one of the things that when we opened the wetlands, one of the things we talked about was the lasting legacy, into the future. And it just seems that from where it first started as just a little puddle, if you will, it's really grown. And I'm really glad to see that, we started off doing some tours, and we always wanted to do more, but it was always a financial constraint. So I'm glad to see that we're going to expand on that more, and that we're going to add an additional component where individual students are going to have hands-on training that they're actually going to be able to take out into the real world, because ecotourism is in the valley a $3 billion business. And I don't know what the number is statewide or nationally, but that definitely means there's going to be job opportunities for these individuals, and they're going to be able to say that they had actual experience, participating in this. And so I think that the legacy that the wetlands is creating is still ongoing, and it's going to have potential for growth. And I thank you for your efforts and for all your energy that you're putting in this, and I wish you much luck.
Thank you. We would like to fence it and have our security, we have the law pathway, and our security students, they could be out there on Saturday, patrolling and making sure that everything
Need
is safe.
additional fencing than what we have? Or-
Yes.
Provide protection for the y'all's Parks and Rec maintenance equipment.
Yes.
What kind of fencing is what I guess you're saying? Because we already have fencing.
Internal fencing even.
I got you.
Internal
Okay.
fencing, okay.
I think perimeter fencing is okay.
Beautiful. Whatever we can do to make sure that this does get done, and we've got our folks over at the Park Association, I know they're going to jump on this, and Ms. Borrego, so good luck to you, sir, in your senior year, and looking forward to working with you all. Thank you very much.
Action?
That pretty much concludes our presentation. The slides that we had remaining were just kind of reiterated what these gentlemen said, and essentially we'll begin work tomorrow with the permission of the commission as our role as a partner.
Very good. It doesn't need us to do any type of action at this point. It's just, you're just presenting.
Yes, we're just informational. Yes.
Very good.
Will you need any, and I know most of these grant need letters of support. Are you going to be needing any of that? And I know, I'm thinking just because I'm seeing the congressman's staff in attendance, so y'all can catch them before they walk out. Just Mr. Humberto Garza from Congressman Bella's office. So if
Welcome.
we are going to need that, catch him before he leaves.
We'll do that, sir. Thank you.
Thank you
Although
very
he's
much.
always available, and we thank him for that.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Presentation on presentation update on the water plant number 2. Mr. Cruz.
Mayor, City Commissioners, in your packet, you have the report, the status of the project up to Friday, January the 9th. The contractor is here. Do you want to go over the report, or do you want to have him report on this?
I'm just going to step out for a little bit. We can go ahead and with a report.
Okay.
Do you want me to go over the report, or have the contractor come up here and?
I'd like a combination, Ron. I'd like for you to do maybe the report, and then if the contractor would be available to answer any questions that the commission may have. And then, of course, give him an opportunity if he would like to share something. But I'd like to do a little bit of both.
This is Doug Smith with Texas Descon and Dario Guerra with the Texas Descon. In the report, I don't know, you guys don't have a copy of our report, right? It's the project schedule is always, we always include that where we're at. Those are the contract days, what's left over, the percentage, and the monthly status report, which is up to Friday. The work update, actually, they turn in on Friday, they turn in some very good pictures of what's happening out there, but we couldn't, it was too late for the packet. For the next meeting, we'll include some visual of what's happening. There's been a lot of construction out there. The new roadway entrance is getting built, filter foundations, the chemical building, the electrical, all the duct work. Clearwell foundation excavation has begun. The clarifiers excavation has been completed. And the filter security wall has been getting ready to be poured for the footings on that wall. Anything else you all want to add to this, what's happened up to date?
Thank you, Mr. Cruz and Mayor Pro Tem and Commissioners. My name is Doug Smith. Like I said, the President of Texas Descon. And yes, there's been obviously a lot of change since the last time I spoke to you. It's been good, although we've had a lot of drizzle rain. And I think San Juan's had its share of rain. It seems to rain only here and all our other PSJ jobs. But we have marked a lot of progress, coordinated with the engineer, and staying on track, on schedule to keep the big CBI equipment coming here at the latter part of February, early March. We did put the security wall substrate in. We encountered where the Magic Valley guy wire is in your security wall, so we need to coordinate with them so they can come remove it, so we can proceed with that work. Other than that, everything seems to be on schedule now and working good.
All this rain, we're pretty much up to par?
Yes, sir, because we already had the building pads already up. The only one that is consequential is the security wall footing was open in the last 2 weeks. We've been waiting for Magic Valley to come remove their guy wire, so it was affected by the rain. Yes, sir. So we'll have to recompact and stuff of that nature, but that's part of doing the business.
At our monthly meeting, we met, of course, with the Water Development Board regulation. We meet once a month, discuss everything that's going on in the project. We had it Friday, January the 9th, and we did speak with, via phone with CBI, which is Central Chicago Bridge and Iron. They're going to start delivering. They're still scheduled for late February, early March to start seeing the actual metal part of all the plant. It's going to.
And that's all well within schedule running?
Yeah, it's been, a lot of it has been fabricated already, and it's, I think it's coming from Houston, right? This one? I think the stuff is coming
Correct,
from
yes, sir,
Houston.
Houston.
And
Like Chicago, everybody starts thinking.
well, Chicago is the main company. Chicago Bridge and Iron is
Yeah,
the
they're
original
worldwide.
company.
I looked them up.
So that's still on schedule. It's actually probably a little ahead of schedule.
It
as
is,
far
it's a month ahead.
Yeah.
Great.
So we're proceeding. We've had some submittals. I think everything's been taken care of. So it's,
Your note there, the contractor's not resubmitted a revised schedule of value submittal. Has that been
it's been,
corrected?
it's been, yes. That's been corrected.
Yes, ma'am, 3 times.
Good.
So what's projected work is item 1 through 6, finish the foundations of the filters, the underground electrical ducts, the Claricone foundation, which is, this is to get ready all the stuff that's going to be coming in with the metal. The filter wall, if you know what that is, the security wall that we have in front of the filters to prevent any kind of compromise from I-road to the filters because they're pretty close. So you won't throw something in there or something like that. That's that wall that's going to be built on the front. So looks like it's on schedule. We're proceeding even though the rain is hurt. It's doesn't hurt as much as a large project where you're in fields because it's confined space. So like some of the other projects we have where you're in an open field, obviously mud, but this is confined, so they continue working.
Plus, it's limestone that the CBI material they want for substrate, and limestone doesn't absorb the water like our dirt, so that does allow us to get back on it faster.
On the padding, are we lime treating using geogrid, how are we doing?
By memory, if I go right, the subgrade is treated.
Okay.
Select fill line.
Select fill and
Well,
lime
it's lime treated select filled under the filters, but however, under the clear cone and clear well, which are designed via the engineer of CBI, they wanted us to use type A, B, or C, grade 1 through 3, which is typically limestone as a substrate in lieu of select fill.
significantly more, or has less elasticity than if you go with lime treated and select, or what is it?
It's what
Back
most
to
engineers
fill.
would consider a better product. It just costs more because it's not from here,
Right.
but it is bearing a lot of weight. So
It's
We've already
it's
used
better.
up all our
it-
limestone.
Yeah, and it comes recommended from the, obviously the geotechnical, that has to be done for all, there's a clear cone, everything's structural. So following the specs of the geotech engineer.
Great.
Glad to hear everything's on schedule.
yes, ma'am.
We continue our weekly updates until we feel we're
But,
For the-
bi-weekly. Or
Yep.
bi-weekly,
bi-weekly, bi-weekly,
every meeting, two a
every
month.
meeting, yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Very good.
Great.
Thank
Thank
you.
you
Have a
very
good
much.
night.
Thank you.
Item F, presentation on departmental reports. Chief Gonzalez.
It's a Mayor Commissioner. We have 4 departments that are presented tonight on
Okay.
the status. The IT Department first, Parks and Recreation Department second, the Planning, and then the Library.
Mayor, Commissioners, good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Vaca.
Since this is my first report that I present, I'm going a little bit back, so it's not just a 1-month report, it's more like a 3-month report, but I'll try to make it as quick as possible. We're looking into getting an automated phone system, payment system. That way our citizens can pay their bills, their water bills over the phone. I'm working with that with a city attorney, so we're trying to finalize basically the agreement with the company. The agreement basically, we don't pay anything, the city doesn't pay anything whatsoever. There's a small fee, which is actually less than what the citizens are paying for the online payments now. So it's going to save them 25 cents. But we're still in the works with for finalizing basically the agreement. It goes back to they want us to go to a 5-year agreement because the city is not held to any, we don't have any cost to pay, but we're trying to minimize that maybe to 2 years. That way we don't go for a long-term agreement. That's suggested also from the attorney, by the attorney. We're also working on, we actually acquired last year a cloud-based system for automating our forms. That way we try as much as possible to get all our forms in through our website. And that way people don't have to.
Internally? Is that what you're talking
That's no, actually that's coming from outside.
Okay.
Mr. Rockefeller, I'm sorry,
Yes,
if
go
we
ahead.
just back up a little bit. You said you're entering into a 5-year agreement?
No, we're trying not to enter into a 5-year agreement. We're trying to make it go down maybe to 2 years.
And we need to be cautious as we proceed with that because I think, aren't we limited into the number of years we can enter into an agreement?
Well, we're in discussions right now with this company. I know that I've also spoke to Carmen about this issue. She indicates that we are only allowed to go into a 1-year contract. There's not a Texas state law to that. She had in charter in the past. There's nothing in the charter to that effect. So we're just going to verify it again because we've had this discussion many times. But as far as I know, there's not a limitation on the number of years you can enter a contract. I just don't like to have my clients go into 5-year contracts, 3-year contracts because, and especially in this one, they have an automatic renewal also. And I think there was like a 6-month provision for that.
Yeah, that's
So
not a
we're
very good
eliminating
business
that.
practice.
And then we're going to get down to the final contract, present that to the city commission, and then allow you to make the decision yes or no. But I'll go ahead and make sure, again, that there's nothing in the state law that says that you can't go.
And that's understandable, but I think it's just not very good business practice to enter into a 5-year contract for any purpose things change dramatically, particularly in, Mr. Baca, you can attest, particularly in technology, where it changes,
changes.
you know, every 6 months, every year, every 2 years for sure. It's a whole new area. So, yeah, I would not recommend doing anything more.
The company
than
has
2
already
years.
agreed on 3 years, but we're trying to push it down to 2 years. So they already agreed on 3, but we're trying to make it 2. But it's still in the works. So basically, we're enhancing we're talking about the system that we acquired last year for the form filling, online form filling. That way we can get all the forms directly to the people that have to deal with those forms without the people coming in, submitting paperwork, and the paperwork has to be rerouted to the department. Basically, this system will allow people to go online, fill out the forms, and submit them, and the forms will go to the right people. And I can show you some numbers on some forms that have already been implemented, and we have some numbers in. We're also we're in the process of developing and designing a new website. I know we launched our website a year and a half ago, so we're already, I guess, more than halfway through finishing the new website. It's basically going to be, of course, it's going to be looking better. It's going to be easier for the people and the city employees to go about using the website.
One of the things about the website I think is really different than others, and what makes it user-friendly, and maybe it's because I wear glasses, and when I'm in front of the computer, I like to take them off because I start to burn. But it's the size. When you go to the site, it says really big, and I know that maybe it's just because we're getting older, but it just makes it a lot easier to use, and so.
Actually, we're making it bigger now.
Good. I honestly, though, even if you don't have vision problems, I think it just makes it easier to use.
Yes.
And so, I don't know if that's that's why you do it or not, but I think that's a great
actually
way to
how
go.
all the websites are
starting to
going
go
now.
that
Yes,
route, yeah.
Exactly. And there's a big part of the website. The important thing about it is going to be more advertisement. The one we have now, we basically just have a slideshow. We're going to have an entire website dedicated to advertise our events and our businesses and everything that's going on in the city. It's going to be a completely different part, but it's a good advertisement tool, and we're also working with EDC on that because they're providing us with some of the information.
Rebecca, let me ask you a
Yes.
question. You said that every department you'll be able to send the forms that are coming into the right departments. How are we going to be able to determine that those are being looked at and actually followed up with? Is there something that you have that says, respond if you've opened, so that way we know we're sending them, but that somebody's responding?
Yes.
How do we monitor that?
Yes, there's 2 ways to monitor it. First of all, the way they receive those forms, it can be 2 ways. Either by just email, basically the form, when it's submitted, it gets emailed to them. In that sense, I cannot say that they are monitoring it or not. But we can purchase extra licenses for users, since we only have 5 licenses, and we only purchase 5 licenses to go through the trial period because we've only had the system for 1 year now. So we can increase those 5 users to entail all the other personnel that are getting those forms. That way they can log into the system, and we can audit when they're logging, what files they're opening, and what they're following up on. But we didn't go to that stage yet because it's still in the process of testing, basically.
Mr. Baca, one of the things that we've been looking at is the 311 system that the city of McAllen has launched. And I don't know if you've gone to see that, but there's an opportunity there for citizens to be able to report, any number of things from, power outages to, accidents, potholes, brush, trash, and those types of things. Although they're using a proprietary software that was already created that they purchased that was extremely expensive to implement, which I don't think we're in a position to do, but what the county currently is working on is hiring a programmer to create, as opposed to going and buying something or a license. And so, I'd recommend if you could speak to the county IT department to see how they're going about that, the cost associated with that. because it sounds like that by creating a brand-new software that's specific to the use of the client, it seems to be significantly less expensive than buying proprietary software from another software
Yes.
company. So if you could just follow that, because I think that'd be something that would be really beneficial for us to be able to implement into our website as well. And the way they're doing it there, it's also going to be, also going to be able to be a downloadable mobile app.
Basically, we already went through this with the, I actually went through this with Mr. Curtis, and the system we were looking at, it's fairly cheap because it's cloud-based. So now we don't have to buy a server and all the equipment that we need to host it on our servers. What we can do is just go basically cloud-based. And that would save us lots of money. And plus the system that we're looking at, it doesn't just entail one part of the process, it entails everything. From the moment the citizen submits anything, whether it's related to potholes, streets, anything basically, the system readouts those tickets. The system will automatically open tickets and send it to the right department, whether it's sanitation or planning or the water department. And there's a whole process after the ticket. Like if it goes to the planning department and it goes to the code enforcement, for example, a code enforcement ticket is automatically open, and then there's a series of steps that they have to follow for them to basically follow up on the matter and the ticket. Plus, it includes also GIS. GIS by itself is very expensive, and it's already included in this system. And the price on this system is very, very cheap relative to what we could get 5 years ago or 10 years ago.
The GIS that will be included in this system, will it already have geocoding for all of our
We'll have to work on it.
addresses?
Yes, definitely.
So that would be additional work that we would have
Yes,
to do?
that's going to be on our part.
Okay.
Yes, but
we'll be, I'm assuming you or somebody on your staff would be able to.
we'll be doing that, definitely,
or
definitely.
Mr. Cervantes' staff.
The system is really very, very cost effective. It helps the planning department, all the other departments to become basically a little bit more mobile because they can use their iPads and they can, be closing and following up with their tickets. They don't have to come back to their computers and work from the city. They can work from their tablets, and it's cheap. It's very cheap system relatively to what it does and what it can help and what it, with all the departments.
And you have that for full implementation by when?
We budgeted for this system this past year, and we didn't get the money for it. That's why we dropped it. But we're actually on Wednesday. I'm going with some employees from the planning department to City of FAR because City of FAR has that system, and we're going to furthermore see what their input on, what their feedback on the system is.
It's working.
I would look into that, because I know one of the things in talking to them about that they have the follow-up, where they don't quite have the system where, yes, the complaint comes in, but then it's not streamlined to get to the appropriate department, and then
At the
to
City
respond.
of FAR, there's a problem because we talked to them previously, and they said that the system that they implemented, which is the same system we're looking at, wasn't as effective as it should be. But I think there's a problem in implementation because the system is very, very complicated. It's a very huge system. It takes at least 6 months to start implementing and using it. I mean, it takes a long time to the startup. I think
train everyone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think their startup wasn't that good. That's why they had that, feedback. So that's why we're going over there to see on the ground what's happening.
How long have they had it in place?
They've, I think, 2 years.
Okay, so
Yeah,
they
I
have
think 2 years. Yeah. So
good data for you to be able
yes,
to
yes.
gauge yourselves for you.
yes.
Very good.
We're also helping with the fuel system. We're done basically with the fuel system. We're going to run some tests this week and maybe hopefully start using it by Monday. But everything is already in place. We just need to do some few tests and we'll be good to go. We've already redesigned our checks. We have smarter checks, basically, more secure, new checks. Um, We gave computer classes 2 months ago at the library. We're trying to do that again, but the time now is not on our side since we have lots of projects going on, but we'll try to give classes again at the library.
Talking about employees or public?
We did both. We gave classes to employees and then we gave classes to the patrons. Yes. We installed camera surveillance systems in the Parks and Recreation Office, and the next place is going to be recycling. We renewed basically support on some of our devices, like our firewall and filter. We got the professional training on a system that we bought from Pitney Bowes. It's called Planet Press, and this is the system that helped us create those checks that we created. We're upgrading all our cell phones around the city. We're getting new cell phones, and we get those cell phones at zero cost. And actually, we're in the process of selling our old cell phones, and we're anticipating about $4,000 back, although we pay $0 for them. So that's hopefully they give them to me though. They usually don't give them to
To
IT
get that
department.
program.
We deployed a new antivirus for the whole city and the servers. We purchased tablets and deployed them at the PD for the patrol officers. So now they can access the system from the iPads, from the tablets, and they can also run TLETs also is being run on the tablet, so they can run any plate number or person name directly from the tablet. They don't have to call in dispatch to do it. We replaced basically some obsolete workstations that we have. The bigger project that's coming on now is basically the phone system. That's one of our big projects that we're working on. I don't know, do I have time to go through the details of the phone system? I guess I was waiting for this one because this is the first time I bring it up, and we're in the process also. We're working with the city attorney on the agreement. It's a DIR vendor, so that's a good thing. We don't have to worry about the agreements. It's already the system is being used by lots of cities, lots of companies around the world also. It helps us basically with phone portability because we can pair those phones, the desk phones, with the mobile phones. So in case an employee is not on his desk, if his desk phone rings, his cell phone, city cell phone issued, is going to be basically ringing at the same time, and whichever one they pick, the other one drops. It's going to be much easier for us administratively to use it and for the users. It's going to have a user control interface from the computer. So basically, they don't really have to be dealing with the phone buttons. They can do everything from their computer, from answering the phone, sending voicemails. Basically, everything can be done directly from the computer. There's a find me, follow me call routing. We're going to enhance that because we do have lots of phone calls that come into the city and they get lost. They get lost through the routing. So we're going to make sure that
Lost in the sense of sending them to the wrong department, or lost
either
because of the
they
system,
yes,
or-
either they go to the wrong department or they go to a phone desk phone that no one answers, no one picks. There are many different reasons. We're going to make sure that we don't drop any phone calls, and this system is going to have reporting that I'm going to bring forward for any dropped calls and how many dropped calls we have every month. We're going to have an auto attendant. We don't have it now because we never configured it. We have the capability to do it, but we never did because we have a person answering the phone calls. We're going to suggest basically just a one-layer attendant. Just basically, the phone will be picked up automatically, and they can be rerouted to the departments. That's the only thing the auto attendant is going to do.
Is that call going to take? If I'm calling City Hall and something automated is going to come up, is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay, how long is that going to take?
It's just going to basically iterate all the different departments. Press 1 for this department, 2 for that department. And when it goes to the department
Oh, so live voice?
Yes, it's going
Okay.
to, yes. We're going to work closely with the directors of each department so that we can route the calls the way they want it. And we're going to make sure that the call doesn't get dropped. If someone doesn't answer it
It'll roll into
It will
somebody
into
else's.
someone else's, or even if no one answers in the whole department, it goes to cell phones, or it goes back to the attendant at City Hall. So we're going to try to cover it as much as possible. That way we don't have calls that are dropped. Of course, we're going to have conferencing. We're going to have call recording. The call recording is going to be random call recording just for training purposes. And we're going to have, the employees are going to have the option to call record instantly while they're on the phone if there's a matter that's that's going
And do you
south.
inform and are we obligated to inform the person on the line that they're being recorded? Is that something we need to do as policy?
In the city policy, we already do have, maybe, I don't know if it's an ordinance, but for
Wanna go ahead and
internally,
maybe
yes.
look at that with him to make sure that whatever else we're implementing is covered
Is
by
covered.
policy or create policy.
Yes. We're going to have failover basically if one system goes down, because we're going to have two systems, one at the PD, one at City Hall. If one fails down, the other is going to take over. We're going to have video conferencing capability. It's an option. We didn't buy it yet, but down the road, if we want to buy video conferencing, it can be integrated into our phone system. We're also going to integrate the phone system with our emails. So if they get voicemails, the voicemails are going to be sent to their emails. And if they have on their calendar, they have a meeting or they're busy, the phone is going to show busy. And the attendant up front is also going to know that that person is in a meeting. So it's going to be easier rather than them forwarding the call and the guy doesn't answer and then goes back to his cell phone. It directly shows that he's busy. On the reporting, we're going to have departmental reports, call totals, because now we don't have any kind of reports on phone calls. We're going to have dropped calls, the totals of dropped calls we get, unanswered phone calls, time to answer. How long is each department taking to answer the phone? That way we don't have to let people wait a long time on the phones.
Let me ask you this. I know that the sanitation department at one time had a system where the call comes in, they record who calls and what the issue is, and then there's a follow-up whether it got resolved or not, that they would immediately go and access by computer. If you're saying that it's going to record the calls and by department, is there a way in through the system that we can also have them immediately put an entry? This was the call from resident A requesting a garbage pickup because it was lost. No one came by, and then we go back, we resolved it, and we sent. So we know, again, another monitor if we're actually responding to this. Is that something that we can?
Definitely. We just basically need to dedicate one phone line for that. That's it. It's an extra phone line that we dedicate for that, and we can accomplish it. Yes. We can have the phone calls directly recorded, and then the recording will be sent to the emails, and then hence the follow-up. But we cannot go beyond that in tracing how the employee is following up on it, because it's going to his email.
But that would be a manual entry by someone says, you send me this call at this time, this is what we responded, this was the action, so that we do have, because folks can come and tell us, I've been calling and calling, and no one's done anything.
Answered. Yeah, we basically the phone line to that, and we can accomplish it. Basically, that's it. I'm just going to show you some quick numbers on. These are the online forms that are currently being submitted. Public information requests. We got 32 forms that have been submitted, and this system is fairly new, and not lots of people about it, so that's why the numbers are not that very high. Building permit application, 22 people send it in. We just created the alert training registration for the PD, and I think now this number is higher than that, but it's 22. Application for appointment, 13. Presentation request. Those are the higher numbers. We have lots of other forms, but they're lower than
Per month,
10.
Mr. Baca?
That's actually since we implemented the system. It's been a year. And the reason why is because it took us some time to prep for the system and to teach the employees how to use it and to implement the forms online. We have more than, I think now about 28 forms that are online. Yes, so hopefully we can utilize that more. The number of work orders that we get by month, basically they're right around 160 work orders a month. The utility billing, this is the online payment for the utility billing. And we started with 400, the first month, well, this is not the first month, I'm sorry. But on February, we had 450 payments online, and we can see that the trend is going upward. We reached 650 payments online. We're trying to reach 2,000. Hopefully we can one day. That way we can cut, lots of work up front. Yes. For the municipal court, we have, it varies, maybe average of 15 payments. So it's not a lot. I guess the municipal court, they don't have all different types of payments online. I don't know why. We need to look into that.
Look at the payments at the municipal court. Is that by what we send them, or do citations contain the information? If you want to take care of this ticket yourself, you can.
The citations that we allowed for them to pay online. We don't allow for all the different citations.
Okay.
Maybe that's the next step to work on. That way, but the thing, we have to work with the judges on that to make it happen. That way we can get all the different citations payments online. And that's it. That's a long presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Vaca.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Baca. We're going to have Mr. Ponce from the Parks and Recreation Department.
Members of the Commission, Mayor Pro Tem Mayor. Just going to give a brief presentation of the activities we did in December. I started on November 17th, and this is kind of reflective of what we've done since that time. Actually, some of the work actually has been done since early September. It represents kind of the fall programming. To start off with our recreational sports leagues and our activities, just kind of give a quick breakdown of what we offered. We offered youth tackle football. We offered in ages 3rd and 4th grade, youth tackle football for 5th and 6th. We did flag football for 1st and 2nd. We did flag football for 3rd and 5th. We did volleyball at the 3rd and 4th. We did volleyball also for 5th and 6th. We also did a winter baseball league, what's called a Shetland League, which is for 4 to 6-year-olds. Okay. Total teams was 57 teams combined. Total participation was 737 kids for the community. Okay. The reason for the trophies for all of our sports, we had an award ceremony. The Shetland ceremony was actually held at the baseball field, and the tackle football, the flag football, and the volleyball were actually held at the Oso Dome. We had 2 separate nights. Was both very well attended, and we had a very good response from the parents and from the children. And what I've done here, I've just given some very basic participation data, and it kind of shows per sport and the number of teams that we had. And if you see, obviously, we have had very good participation this past fall, and I believe the programs will continue to grow. So some of these are PSJ-based leagues where we coordinated with the elementaries and the elementary coaches and with the district. We're continuing to work with PSJ and strengthening our relationship to make sure that we provide the best service. We use their facilities. We've used the stadium. We use the high school stadium. We use some of their fields to practice. So we're continuing to ensure that we have a strong relationship so we can continue the partnership of using facilities and, again, having to tie in with the school-based programs.
Ponce, as we grow these programs, you said that they've increased. Do you have a sense of, from last year to this year, what kind of an increase you had?
I don't have the data. They haven't really had accurate record keeping. I've been trying to search. A lot of it's paper-based. What I'm doing is I'm creating databases for everything as far as keeping records, records retention schedule, and I'm going to so that way I can start collecting data, and so I can kind of measure from previous years, kind of benchmark. Really, right now, what I'm doing is kind of benchmarking for where we're at, so I can start making comparisons for next year. So
one of the concerns that I've heard at different times from some of our volunteer coaches is the facilities. You know, if we're growing teams, are we working with a school district to assure that there's places for the folks to practice and then actual games? But that's one of the things that I've heard, you know, we're having to go out and find a place. What kind of an agreement do we have with the school district, and how do you work with them to assure that if we're growing a program, that we're also, having the facilities to?
I'm not sure if we actually have an MOU, but I just met with PHJ last week with Mr. Chavana and with the athletic director as well, and the assistant athletic director. And what's kind of hurt us this past year was that the renovation, the building of the new Austin Junior High. So there we lost 2 gyms, and that hurt us significantly, not only for practice but for games as well. So what we've done is we're planning ahead to ensure that we have, we kind of had our meeting consisted of us trying to make sure we had place for all the teams, all the practices. They've opened up the old Garza Peña gym that was being used for storage. That's something we had mentioned if it was a possibility. They're going to clear that out. They're going to allow us to use it for basketball. We're also going to be using, and I just spoke to Mr. Chavana a few hours ago, we're going to be using Santos Salinas gym at the old PSJ High School, which is at Holy Sigete Middle School. We're going to utilize that gym as well to provide another venue for our sports. So we're definitely, it's going to be a collaborative effort to accommodate with the growth, but as we say, they're the same kids that we serve. So they're definitely a willing partner, and we're trying to maximize all the facilities. We're trying to have creative scheduling to ensure that we have the games that are allotted, that are not, we don't want to do too many nights, obviously with school in mind, and we're trying to also limit the hours in the weekend, but we're doing creative scheduling to make sure that we get as many games in as possible to make sure that everybody gets, there's equity across the board.
One of the things that I was also brought up to attention by some of our faith leaders was the Wednesday nights. One of the concerns was if the schools are, reserving that night for that purpose, then I know the city of San Juan has had some programs at that time. What are we doing to relieve that? And I know there's some times when even Sundays are being used for tournaments. I don't know that they're tournaments that we have actually scheduled, and I don't think they were. But this Wednesday nights has been a concern, has been raised several times. What are we doing about that, Mr. Paul?
And that's something that I'm looking into right now, Mayor. I am aware, and actually the district brought that to my attention as well, because they essentially usually release their kids early, because Wednesday is a church night for some people, and they have, whether it be catechism or service. So that's something we're trying to work around. The issue that we come up with is that since we are using the facilities for PSJA, their programs have priority, which is their UIL athletics. So we have to schedule around them. So we essentially are using the facilities when they're available. So Wednesday night, they don't schedule a lot of things for that particular reason, but that is kind of a night that leaves us open. So again, we're trying to do some creative scheduling to ensure that, and that's a concern that parents have brought to my attention as well. So that's something that I'm currently working on, like for basketball and for baseball is coming up. We're trying to get in contact with, some of the local religious entities to see when they have their functions, because we don't want to conflict.
And that's been an issue that, that's been brought to my attention for at least the last years, especially since our programs have been growing, as your numbers definitely indicate. And, that's one of the main reasons why we were trying to take an opportunity to build a shelter, because we wanted to have that additional space. And so it's unfortunate that we can't do that. But I want you to continue to bring back that need, because I think that we all need to be aware that that's quickly becoming a very, very important need for our community, and something that our citizens have very, very clearly articulated, not only to you, but to many of us, that's important. So we really need to, it needs to be a priority for us. And so one of the things that we're also, that I'd like to see an update on is where we're at in moving towards a PAL program. I know that we had begun the process early on when Mr. Elizondo was here, and then I really haven't seen a whole lot more movement. So I'd like to see if you and Chief Gonzalez could get together, because through that, the PAL program is a 501c3, and it's available for much more different funding sources. And so through that, we could begin to start generating opportunities to create our own spaces. Because as we talk about playing, where we play, that's one issue, but as, you know, and Mario can definitely speak to this, practice fields are also a major issue and a major concern. And so we really need to start looking for opportunities to be able to provide not only game space, but practice space as well. And I think that when we talk about practice, I think that's where you deal with a little more of an issue because it's so limited. I will say that this year for the tackle football, I thought it was organized very well, and there seemed to be enough space for everybody to practice. But I think the football teams are fewer than the baseball teams.
Yes.
We have many more baseball teams, particularly now that our girls' baseball and softball is not only growing, it's getting extremely successful. So I don't see that, that need going away anytime soon. So I'd like to, if you could, for your next monthly report, bring back a report on where we're at and moving the possibility of entering into a PAL program.
Okay, just to comment on your the Wednesdays for that, but definitely something I'm going to be working on. So for my next monthly report, hopefully I have something to present to you. And for the PAL, I'm ready to move forward for the PAL. I have the information that I need. I am making a trip to Laredo to visit the Laredo PAL just to get a comparison. I've visited with the gentleman from FAR, who obviously FAR has a PAL established. But at this point, we're ready to take the next step. I did not put it on this agenda item because I didn't have everything complete.
Sure.
But I'm ready to move forward, and I think that's definitely something we can get done fairly quickly.
Great, thank you.
One thing that I would like to as well, I think I spoke to you in we need to try and we need to utilize those other fields there at the San Juan Municipal Park. I think I mentioned about lights. You know, those are two fields right there that we can, take advantage of, and we can get some serious playing time around there as well. But I know everything, maybe there's a grant out there, you can look and see if we can get something done there, because those are two real nice, big fields. Of course, they need a little work, but it's, that's nothing that, we can do. But
I'm currently restoring those two softball fields. I'm recreating those infields. There was a fence that had been put in place. I've taken the fence out, and we're starting to recreate. So if anything, we can make use during the day, both the weekends, and especially when we change the time. The sun won't set till about 8:30, so it'll give us some access. And we're currently, and I'm working with Ms. Borrego, we're looking for grants, possibility of for those parks. I know that MLB has some grants available for municipalities to possibly restore that park to what it used to be before.
It'd also be a good idea to look or approach city manager when we're budgeting for CDBG, because that is an allowable expense under CDBG. It's also a good opportunity to reach out to the county for an opportunity to get funding from their CDBG for that lighting as well.
Sure. Thank you, sir. In December, we also had our reindeer run. This is something that went over very well for us. Again, I did find some data and just very simple numbers as far as we had, last year they had, I believe, 37 people sign up. They had 27 participate. This year, we made a big push to try to get our numbers up. We had set a goal of having at least 100 participants. I'm glad to report we had 168 participants. And when we did some things a little bit differently, we pushed promotion on social media. We contacted some of the local running clubs. We also initiated an online registration form, which we thought we had good results, where people were able to register online and they came in. We also introduced what they call the chip time race, which usually attracts more religious runners. They get more accurate timing for the race, so that they're more prone to register for those types of races. So we had a very good turnout, good participation, and we hope to, this is something we can grow every year. And then our goal is to make it a 5K, 10K race. eventually. Maybe possibly next year we can get enrollment up.
A lot of fun.
Yes. Luckily, the weather was very nice day. Yes. We also had a program, Breakfast with Santa. Okay. What we did is we had a Shetland baseball tournament. We decided to do this tournament in addition to the normal league, and entry into the tournament was for every player to bring a toy. Those toys we were able to donate to the Hidalgo County Head Start in Precinct 2. And we did is we had one of our employees, Mr. Vela. He kindly volunteered to dress up as Santa
You're
Claus.
supposed to say that, man.
Hopefully they're in bed right now. He dressed up as Santa, and we issued out about 119 toys. We also were able to provide breakfast for the children, and we had a pancake breakfast, and the pancakes were donated by McDonald's. We had orange juice for them, which was donated by Hygeia. So overall, we had a fantastic turnout both for the tournament and for the breakfast. So it was a very good event on both ends. As being almost like service learning, explaining that these kids were going to play, and the toys were going to go towards other children. And of course, the kids were very surprised when Santa showed up to give out toys with pancakes. So very. And I just wanted to give a brief update on the Green Roof project. I've met with the representatives from Texas A&M and Kingsville, and they have kind of given me some direction as far as where we're at and what we need to do to complete the project. We've broken it down into 3 phases. Initially, the first phase is going to consist of us actually rerouting the gutter system into those black water bins. I don't have a pointer here that you see on the second photo, and that would allow us to then start digging towards the flower bed. Water is essentially going to run through there, excess water, and it's going to flow into a flower bed. Essentially, right now we've obtained 3 quotes to do the project, the first phase, which is the gutter system, and we've in working with Kingsville. They've informed us that we could use what's remaining in the grant for construction costs. And there'll be some cost as far as, again, the gutter system. A&M Kingsville will provide the framing for the roof, and then we're going to have to install the irrigation system, where we're going to have to contract somebody to come in and install somebody who's licensed to install the system on the roof. They're currently growing the plants in pallets. They're specialized pallets that have been made that will fit into the frame. At that time, A&M Kingsville will come in with their graduate students, and they will set the frames up on the roof for us. So I'm going to meet with them next week, and we're continuing and with the work of Ms. Borrego as well, making sure that we follow the guidelines of the grant, that we've kind of come up with the job schedule. March 2nd should actually be April 2nd, but there's a good possibility that if weather permitting and bids going out, that we may be able to finish by maybe sometime mid-March.
Now, were you within time? I mean, this has been going on for years.
Yes.
Are we still within time for the extension and meeting the deadlines?
From speaking with the gentleman from Kingsville, they've given us extensions. I think the last extension we had was in August. The grant is written so we can make those extensions. So speaking with him, I don't know when the last extension was made, but they're giving us the latitude to finish the project. That's something that we do need to research. I just spoke to him yesterday, and he's telling me that, as for the language in the grant, will permit us to use what is remaining to switch that cost over to hire these contractors, to get licensed people to approve the final aspects of the installation of the green roof itself. The extension is not really a significant issue according to them.
Council, I know we've had some legal issues. We haven't heard anything. Are we somewhere we are resolved, or is any of what that was involved going to hinder any of what needs to be done?
I looked over at Rene Jaime because we need to discuss the roof at Amigos del Valle. There was some leakage a while back, but we haven't seen any more of it. We're not sure if there is or is not, so that's where we were at the last time. So it sounds like they'll be okay, but we still need to.
Yeah, if you can get that, look into that and brief the commission on that.
Yes.
I would appreciate that, Council.
Yeah, and if you look at the pictures, and I wish I had better footage, I just took those pictures last, and where the slope is, there's that black tarp, and that's where the green roof will go. And essentially, we've devised a plan to try to get this job finally completed.
Mr. Ponce, now that's the above-the-ground one. Isn't there a below-ground water container as well? Or
That's
water-
actually going to drain out into a,
Into a
yes,
below-ground.
yes. And the last item that I had to present was the wetland project, the wetland project, but I've already covered that. So I just wasn't giving just a brief overview. I wasn't sure if I was before me and Ms. Borrego went, so
Mr.
that's all.
Ponce, now
Yes.
that you brought that up, I'm glad that we have an opportunity. If we're going to be doing in-kind contribution, and then we're going to, and PSJ will also, I think, and legal counsel can help us. I think we're definitely going to need an interlocal agreement just to ensure that there isn't any issues down the road. And so what I would recommend as you proceed through the grant process, since we do have a meeting later on this month, before the February 1 deadline, that you just make sure that we don't need to have an interlocal for the grant. I would assume based on my experience that we are going to need one, and so let's just make sure that since we do have one more meeting left before the end of the month, so that if we do, we can get that on the agenda and get it approved for your grant submittal.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Ponce, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Chief, who's next?
Planning Department?
Commissioners, good evening. In your packet, you should have my report. I listed the subdivisions that we're processing at this time. In one of them, we had meetings this week for the San Juan Plaza subdivision, which is a shopping center that is proposed on Olana Avenue, and that project is moving along very rapidly. Conditional use permits, we're processing one. It should be wrapped up today. 2 zoning applications, both are on your agenda today for a public hearing. We're not processing any variances at this time. We have still ordinances in the works. The zoning ordinance still pending a workshop with the City Commission. The ordinance for sexually oriented businesses, that's still pending a legal review. The garbage exclusivity ordinance that includes the amendments to the commercial rates, that's completed and it's going to come before you for adoption in your next meeting. And then the last ordinance is for the fees, and that one is in your packet for adoption in this meeting, for adoption in first reading. Continue working on the new Freedom Project, which is the sidewalks in different locations, funded by the federal grant, and the local match is done through the.
Where are we with that? You said?
The public work should start, when do you anticipate starting? On the sidewalks project, when do you anticipate starting that project? Okay.
On Monday? And the pavers? The pavers are going to go all the way up to
Yes,
First Street?
the first project is going to be on First Street,
Okay.
and that's going to allow our crews to get some experience in building sidewalks. And the second phase is on Nebraska, and that project is on the west side from First to the frontage road, and that project will include brick pavers. But we wanted First Street first to get our guys to get some experience in building sidewalks before we go to Nebraska. Nebraska is removing the existing sidewalk, building the new one, and then having a brick pavers between the sidewalk and the curve. And then the third phase is going back to First Street, and then fourth and fifth phases are Raul Longoria from 495 to SU, depending on if there's money available still on phases 4 and 5.
How much is, I'm not sure, I want to ask the question accurately. How much is funded, or for how much of the sidewalk have we?
The grant is 128,000 that we got for materials. I'm hoping that we can do all 5 phases with those. Yeah, I'm hoping. But until we start building them, that's when we'll know how much is really.
More actual.
The bid for the concrete was 55,000, and so that's just concrete.
But that covers all 5 phases?
For the 5 phases,
Great.
yes. So I think we should be able to complete all 5 phases within the funds that we have. And then our crews working, that's going to be the local match for the project. So that project is moving along. Continue working with Rani on getting easements for different projects that he's working on. We continue working on the Davis-Bacon regulations. Some of the projects, like the 16-inch water line project and the water plant project, those are federal funds, and that requires compliance with the Davis-Bacon Act. So my department is doing that aspect of those projects. And then we continue doing the stormwater regulations, making sure we're in compliance with federal and state laws for stormwater compliance, and also working on the Metropolitan Planning Organization in the Technical Advisory Committee. So we're pretty busy with different projects and programs.
Cervantes, thank you.
You're welcome.
Up next, we have the library, Mr. Singh.
Mayor, Commissioners, good afternoon. Or good evening, yeah, good night, yeah, whatever. Mine is going to be short and to the point. No. This is the fourth quarter of the 2014 monthly, report. And let me see which. This is our location. I'll always have that one in there so that everybody knows where the library is located. The library hours, Monday through Thursday from 9 to 7, Friday and Saturday from 9 to 5. We're closed on Sundays right now, but we'll be opening
When are we
on
starting
Sundays.
that?
Maybe February, March. I have to look at the schedule and hire the part-timer, because the person we selected did not meet all the qualifications, so we're in the process of getting the part-timer so we can open. I have the statistics for September, and now I know how to make the percentage. About 25 to 30% are computer users every month. Mayor Pro Tem showed me how to do it, so. One time he asked me, I didn't know the answer, so he says, oh, you do it like this? Okay, so now I know. The highest will be 20% of any of the months. So that means they're coming to use the library for checking out books and coming to the programs. This is the statistics for the usage of the rooms. This room as well as the training room. The children's statistics, the programs and the attendance for each, for the month of September. We have October, the statistics also in here, and they show the checkouts and the reference questions, the children programs, the attendance, and the
Mr. Singh,
deposit.
I'm
Yes.
sorry. On the total checkouts, is that a per book
Includes-
or a per patron number? So was there 3,115 books checked out? Or
Checked out.
3,000? Okay.
Because some patrons may check the 10 books that they're, yeah. And then it's a breakdown on the right side. It says how many DVDs were checked out, how many juvenile and how many adult books. It's the breakdown in there. And the same for the usage of the rooms, this room as well as the training room. and the children's, the programs and the attendance for the children's for the month of October. We have November, same in here, and the statistics for the usage of the room. We had the computer classes, and like Hussein said, we stopped, and now we're going to retake them again. The children's statistics, the presentation, the programs, and the attendance, December. And the same for, as you can see, the training room went down because we stopped the computer classes, but we're going to take them again. And the programming for the children's. These are some of the pictures for the kids they love. And the game night on Thursday nights. This is our Halloween, this is our Thanksgiving. We had an arts and crafts for Thanksgiving. This is for December. And we have celebrated Dia de los Muertos here with Enero Rojo Lunar. Ahí está the nun. Everybody thought that I was really a nun. When they saw my makeup, they said, oh, no, you're not a nun. Nuns don't get makeup. Yeah, sure. So with Miss Perkins and Miss Cantu, 2 library board members. This is all of the people that came in costume. Oh, I don't know who that one is. And then this is the lady that promotes the poetry, Raquel.
She does a fine job. She's come how many times now, Ms. Assistant?
2. No, 3. September and October. And she's coming in February. She's going to start again in February. And this is all of the people that participated, either reading poetry or books. Here's the attendance. And the upcoming events, we're going to have Valentine's Day, but we also, and I have a handout, we're approached by the Mexican consulate, and we're going to have a very nice speaker. His name is Jesus Tobias. He's going to give a conference at the Mexican consulate on Friday, and we're going to have him here on Saturday. So I'm going to give you a handout of the, and we posted already. We posted already all over the library. And we're going to have Dr. Seuss' birthday and St. Patrick's Day, arts and crafts. And we also have the calendar in English for the kids and Spanish. And this is the library staff. Richard Ramirez is our new full-time employee. That's all, folks. So.
Thank you, Ms. Assistant.
Thank you, Mrs.
Last one will be Streets and Sanitation Department.
Thank you.
Mayor Commissioner, this will be the last report for our departmental reports.
Very good.
Good afternoon, Mayor Commissioners. Our monthly report for December, our sanitation department drivers picked up and delivered a total of 1,282 tons of solid waste to the Annenberg landfill. One of our trucks broke down. The hydraulic repair for Unit 429 was at a cost of $1,800 to repair both cylinders that went out. We also had Unit 426 that needed an overhaul, and I'm still working on that. It'll range between $9,000 to $12,000 to fix that. So I'm trying to find other sources and see what I can do there. Our streets and alleys department, our brush crew continue their regular schedules. At our brush site there at the landfill, we had 575 walk-ins to deliver brush and junk. Our tires pickup were on schedule. Our roll-off trucks hauled in 334 tons of brush and junk to the Annenberg landfill. One of our roll-off is still down at the moment. We're still trying to troubleshoot it there at the shop, but we just hired 2 mechanics, so we're working on that right now. Our central garage, our mechanics continue to keep up with all city vehicles and equipment in running order. For the month of December, there were 87 work orders for vehicle repairs. Our patch crew is still working on covering potholes for the month of December. We're concentrating on Cesar Chavez, on the Sioux Road, East and West, on Oblate,
on Sam Houston, San Antonio, Standard, Nebraska, Alameda, Deanna, Nolana, Retama, Paloma, Puerto Vallarta, Cancun, and San Antonio. So we're working on those streets right now. We passed them up about a week and a half ago, but the water came, so we're back at square one. So we're trying to keep up with that. Our recycling center is doing very well. They were able to divert more than 26 tons of recycled materials and 25 gallons of used oil to the Annenberg landfill. The recycle center had approximately 506 walk-ins. That's aside from the landfill that we have.
How are we doing with that waiting list?
We're doing good, Mayor. We already received the containers. So Eric and I got together yesterday, and we're going to start delivering them on a weekly basis and try to shut down until we get them all out.
Do you know how long that is?
It shouldn't take us very long, Mayor. What we're trying to do right now, we're trying to salvage the ones that are used that, we're repairing them right now. But, try to keep the new ones in for emergencies, situations. But we should be done within a week or so. It shouldn't take very long. And our monthly report on the recycle center, they took a total of 26.52 tons of paper and other recyclable things to the landfill, and they had 75 gallons of used oil. On the mixed paper, they took 4.05 tons of paper with a revenue of $202.80. With newspaper recycled, they took 3.75 tons with a $300 revenue. Our mixed recyclables, they took 5.26 tons, and these are for our curbside, so we don't get anything for that. Our used oil, our citizens took 75 gallons of used oil, and we had a revenue of $48.75. On the cardboards, we recycled 12.98 tons with a revenue of $973.50. And on our metal, we had 0.48 tons with a profit of $76.08. So our grand total, our grand revenue for the month of December was $1,601.13. That's all. Thank you. Thank you, Mike.
Moving on to item 6, public hearing ordinances. A, hold a public hearing and consider an ordinance for the rezoning request from manufactured home district to light district, industrial district to east 695.97 feet of Lot 2, Block 447, Alamo Land and Sugar Company subdivision located approximately 1/2 mile east of Raul Longoria along the south side of Owasso Street as requested by Alberto Cepeda. Mr. Cervantes.
Yes, Mr. Cepeda is proposing to rezone 21.09 acres from manufactured home district to light industrial district. The property is located along the south side of Owasso Road, halfway between Raul Longoria and Cesar Chavez Roads. A company is contemplating building a tamales factory in that property. The company currently owns and operates a tamales factory in San Juan at the northwest corner of Raul Longoria and Naulana Avenue behind the restaurant. The existing factory has outgrown its current location and the company is interested in building a bigger factory in San Juan to supply the Rio Grande Valley restaurants with their products. If the rezoning application goes through and if the company goes forward with this location, the company will be required to subdivide the property in order to undertake any improvements. Staff recommends approval on the rezoning request. The property is in the outskirts of the city and there are no existing residential subdivisions adjacent to the property that could be negatively impacted by a factory. During their meeting of December 18, the Planning and Zoning Commission unanimously recommended approval of the rezoning request.
I'd like to open up this public hearing at 7:54. Are there any members of the public that wish to make any statements for or against? Any members of the public that wish to make any statements for or against? Come to the mic, please. State your name for the record.
My name is Alberto Cepeda. Good evening, Commissioners, Mayor, Pro Tem Mayor. Essentially, we're needing to expand our facility.
It's a good problem to have.
What's that?
It's a good problem to have.
Yes. We are experiencing very good growth, and so we need to expand. We don't have as Mr. Cervantes mentioned, enough space to grow into. And if we did, it's like we need to project future growth, and we're not able to. So presently, we have this property at our disposal. It's already being purchased, and so we wanted to rezone it so that we can maybe dedicate at least 10 to 12 acres for it. The rest, we may, subdivide for other uses, but right now, it's to get some facilities big enough that we can expand right now and further expansion.
Are the sewer services from the city, the waters from? Okay, no, everything's available because of the.
It's within a certain distance. We are looking at the finances for it. The only thing that's up in the air right now still is we do require that there be gas, and we're trying to work with our engineers to determine how much it would cost to bring in that part of it. If not, maybe move into propane services. But we'd rather keep natural gas. Sewer is close enough that, there is a cost to bring it in, but hopefully we'll be able to work with, the different parts to be able to bring it to fruition.
One of the things that I did want to comment, it's on the report from the Planning and Zoning, is that the current location of, which is on Nolana, will remain open. This will be in addition to that.
Yes, we presently
Okay,
lease,
más lejos.
we lease quite a few rental spaces, both unair-conditioned and conditioned spaces, and that would essentially, we'd expand that restaurant and then use the rest of the facilities for storage, for maintenance offices, for our maintenance department, our IT department, have somewhere for them to store their own stuff. The new location, if we were to do that, would be mainly for production of our goods.
I know we're here for the zoning, but what are your, because of the size of the facility and the expansion, how many new jobs do you think you're creating?
It's difficult to say, but we're projecting that we would probably employ an additional 30 to 40 employees once we get going. Unfortunately, we do lose some to, other, jobs or whatever, but we're continuously trying to maintain our personnel and grow as we need to. And we do project that we will be growing. Part of the reason to do this larger facility is not only to feed what we already have restaurant-wise, but to also open up other locations.
Very good, and I'm glad you're staying in San Juan.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hernandez.
Glad to have you.
Thanks.
Are there any other members of the public that wish to make any statements for or against? Okay, I'd like to close this public hearing at 7:59.
Motion to approve as presented?
Is there a second? All in favor state aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Second public hearing is to consider an ordinance for the rezoning request from a single-family residential district to a multifamily residential district of the south one-half lots, 19, 20, 21, Block 14, San Juan Original Townsite Subdivision, located at the northwest corner of 4th Street and Iowa Avenue, as requested by Arturo Hernandez. Mr. Cervantes.
Yes, Mr. Hernandez is proposing to rezone 3 one-half lots from single-family residence district to multifamily residence district in order to convert a house located in the property into a duplex. The applicant purchased the property in October 2014, and the existing house has approximately 1,400 square feet of living area. Mr. Hernandez wants to divide the house into 2 apartments for rental purposes. If the rezoning goes through, the applicant will need to get a building permit to undertake the remodelings that need to be done to transform the house into a duplex, and must comply with all building and fire and parking codes. Staff recommends denial based on the incompatibility of the surrounding land uses and zones. Also, should the rezoning be approved, it will appear to constitute spot zoning. I did meet with the city attorney this afternoon, and it's not a very well-defined spot zoning because there is multifamily zoning to the south, but to the east and to the west and to the north is single family. So it's kind of gray area. It's kind of a gray area. So it's how you see things. Staff sent notices, and we did get one phone call in opposition, but nobody showed up to the Planning and Zoning public hearing. During the December 18 meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission, the board recommended denial unanimously with a 5-0 vote.
I'd like to go ahead and open this public hearing at 8:01. Are there members of the audience that wish to make any comments? State your name for the record, please.
Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and Commissioners. My name is TJ Arredondo for the record, and I'm here to speak on behalf of Mr. Arturo Hernandez in favor of the proposed change of Zone 2 multifamily. And I guess in line with the previous request for changing the zone and the industrial coming into the city and more jobs at the city, there comes a need for housing, and there is a great shortage of housing in the area. I was a real estate broker in this transaction for Mr. Hernandez, so I'm well aware of the need for housing in the area. And as far as this is concerned, this property was an abandoned structure. It wasn't finished out. There was a permit taken out, but it was never completed. So the property was just sitting as is. They actually took the improvement off the tax rolls, I believe, last year because it was basically valued as zero value. So what Mr. Hernandez is proposing to do is upgrade the area, the property, and convert it to a duplex. It'll have it'll look like a single-family residence. It'll have that kind of look. It's not a bunch of apartments, so we don't really see the negative effect of having this being approved. And like he did say, there are some. I think we have an aerial. Can you pass that up to the commission? Where there are already some multifamily in some of the other areas that Mr. Cervantes mentioned, so you do have multifamily in the area of single-family zones. So what we're trying to do is just basically officially convert this to be in line with current codes.
What does parking look like for a duplex, Mr. Cervantes, requirements from the city?
For a duplex, it will be three parking spaces required.
For the
It's-
entire
it's-
structure?
Yeah, the code requires 1.5 spaces for apartment. So the minimum, it will be 3. I think they want to put 4. They're proposing 4, but their minimum required is 3.
Tell me about there are apartments across the street.
To the south, yes.
What does it look like as far as when the parking is taking place? Are we having people parking along the streets and?
Some of the complexes have parking lots, and others are houses that got converted into apartments. You have a mix of things out there.
How many lots, slots?
We're proposing 2 each it'll be
So
more than
4.
enough. It'll be more than the code requires. It'll be 2 per apartment.
And we're-
And again, these are 2-bedroom, 1-bath. The need for affordable housing is there. If we were to finish it out and rent it out as a single-family residence, we're talking about $750 to $850, as opposed to splitting, partitioning it, and allowing it to rent for about $475 to $550. We put out a sign last night just to see what kind of interest there was, and there was at least 5 phone calls just from last night to today, people needing a place to live. So we're hoping that the board can consider that and motion for approval.
How long has this home been abandoned?
It's been at least a year, I believe, closer to 2 years that's been abandoned. And I didn't see, there was probably, it's going to be there for a number of years because it wasn't finished out, so it was very difficult for the bank to pick it up or to have somebody borrow money to finish it up. And Mr. Hernandez was.
Not a completed home.
It's not a completed home at this time, no. It's basically a shell. It's a frame structure that he's proposing to finish out and put it back on the tax rolls.
Yeah, that was gonna be my thing. So it's not currently generating tax revenue.
No, well, the improvement value is not there. There's a structure on it, but
Okay.
they've zeroed that out. So it's just basically the lot you're collecting
Just
taxes
the
on.
land.
Yes, sir.
Now, going back to the parking, is it going to be like together or 2 and 2 on one?
Council, if I may ask, Mr. Cervantes talks about a gray area. What is your opinion?
I agree. After speaking with Mr. Cervantes, I was concerned when I saw the recommendation where they indicated that it appeared to be spot zoning. So we went over the Texas Supreme Court case, which just happens to be to the neighboring city, the city of FAR. The court decided in 1981 what the elements are in looking at spot zoning. And we went over the case and we went over the facts, and especially what we were looking at is that there are multi-use apartments or multi-residential apartments to the south, and it's also to the, what direction is that? Over here off of Kansas, west. There's also, yes. So it's not only to the south of us, but it's to the west. So I feel that it's not going to be, there's a leg to stand on that it's not spot zoning. I can't tell you for sure if somebody took us to court, but I mean, we have some very, very good grounds to stand on that it is not spot zoning.
What was the deciding factor for the planning and zoning to recommend denial?
Well, what I presented to the Planning and Zoning Commission is that there appears to be a very set boundary, which is Kansas Avenue and 4th Street. So back in the 80s, when the city started zoning, the city commission at the time determined that this area was going to be for apartments and that this area would be for single-family homes. So you have a very well-defined boundary for that, to preserve that neighborhood. So if this zoning goes through, then you kind of lose that boundary. And also, if the next person applies here and the next person applies here, then yeah, you cannot deny other applications because you approved this one. So it's a difficult case because the neighborhood is a little bit old. They could use investment, but then you have the zoning that the city commission, the city fathers established back in the early 80s. You know, at the time, that was the boundary that was determined. So do you follow that or do you break from that? That's a decision that you have to make today, you know.
Excuse me, there are, again, on your aerial, you show, there's some multifamily as we outlined on First Street in Wyoming on that corner there, as you see outlined there. So although there is a single-family zone there, there are physically multifamily units there. And I think there's another, do I have it? On Iowa and 2nd Street, you can see that's another area where there are multiple units in it. You know, the zoning is for single family, but there are multifamily units there. Again, this is a duplex. This is not more than 2 units. We don't see
Is that
how.
correct, Mr. Cervantes? That there are other?
I mean, back in the 40s and 50s, people converted houses into apartments. And you know, back in those days, there were not the regulations that we have today. If those apartments were to burn down, they will not be able to rebuild them. We have in the old parts of town, we have a lot of those cases. You know, old apartment buildings, but they're not non-conforming uses.
Do you think, or did you find that since the zoning that you have pointed out, since that got into place, were there still multi-living homes being created as well, or that was all
That was done
prior?
a long time ago.
Other than when that was put into place?
Yeah, before 1980, we didn't have zoning. So people were converting houses into apartments, and that's what happened over here a lot. You have old houses that became 2 or 3 apartments. And then we had zoning came in, and so we had regulations. But everything that was built before that, it becomes grandfathered, non-conforming uses.
As recent as 94, then on the tax rolls, according to the tax rolls, is at 3092nd, there were additions for apartments.
Council, if Mr. Cervantes has just stated that the other ones that were seen in the map are actually part of a different type of zoning, because they are contained in the darker colored, which he says those were permitting. Is that true, Mr. Cervantes, that you saw those will permit multifamily?
Yeah,
According to a-
back in
to a zoning?
1980, because there were so many apartments here, the city commission decided that these blocks will be zoned multifamily.
Okay, so the ones that you're showing us on the map, the other ones fall within the zone, though, is that correct?
Yes,
None of them fall in the residential
the-
zone?
well, like he said, there's probably some here, in different spots, but those were done before 1980. They're grandfathered, they're non-conforming uses. If the place was to burn down, they will not be able to rebuild them.
I thought that he just indicated that some were put in 1994 within the yellow area. Isn't that what he just,
For 1994, I cannot explain what happens.
And we don't know if they were done with permits or just built?
Yeah, sometimes they do work in the weekends.
but normally if they're at the taxing entities and they're being taxed, then the way the taxing entities are notified is whenever you do put the permits, isn't that? I mean, they don't just pay taxes on, I mean, that's the whole point of the permit, so that you are responsible for taxes. People try to avoid it by not putting the permits in, right? So the way they catch that is permit in, then they submit it over there, then they pay taxes on that property.
Each year, the appraisal district gets a report from us on all the building permits that we issued. And then they go to those properties, inspect if the construction took place, and then they adjust the taxes.
So it sounds like something was done in 94 then, because that's when it
Yeah,
first appeared.
who knows in reality what happened back in '94.
Again, I'd like to stress that the property was basically abandoned. It was, waist high, weedy, and he's gonna clean it up and finish it out and have, accommodate for housing in the city and also to be placed back on the tax roll. I see more pros and cons in the request. And I understand Mr. Cervantes, and I am also the planning supervisor with the County of Hidalgo. I've been in the planning field for a number of years, and I can see where the recommendation has to come. But then there's also other things to look at, and I think there's more positive here than negative.
Mr. Redondo, if you were not to receive approval for change of zoning, do you have plans to finish out the structure?
Yes, sir. I mean, definitely either way, it would be finished out. The only issue would be the rental would be much higher, which, there's very, it's much more difficult for individuals to afford, a higher rental of $750, maybe a month is $850, depending on what the construction costs are coming out to, as opposed to splitting that basically in half and providing to more of a need that's out there.
Any other questions? Council, anything you want to add to that? You let your opinion stand as it is?
Yes, Mayor. I mean, in looking at the Texas Supreme Court case, as I indicated, one of the items that you'd look at would be the zoning ordinances and the long-range master plans, which we do not have here in the city of San Juan, so we can't consider that element. The nature and degree of the adverse impact on the surrounding properties. Is the change substantially inconsistent with the surrounding areas? I mean, it would consistently or be consistent because we'd still be doing housing. It's not being changed to industrial. Whether the use of the property as presently zoned is suitable or unsuitable. I mean, that's something that the court can look at if we were to get to that point. And whether the rezoning of ordinance bears a substantial relationship to public health, safety, morals, or general welfare, or just preserves historical and cultural places. And what the courts look at is there a substantial need that exists, in this instance, one of the items that this Texas Supreme Court case talks about, the need for housing within the city of FAR. And that's something that could be used for that element. So if that were to come up in litigation, then we could bring that up.
So if I own lot 18, here there's 3 lots, so it gives you a little bit more room. But if I'm owner of lot 18 and adjacent to, or let's forget the adjacent, in another part in the yellow zoning, and I meet the requirements of the spacing, and I build up and make it a family type of dwelling, I'm going to be allowed to do it.
Well, I mean, they'd have to come and apply, and then they would talk about the spot zoning. They would have to overcome that. and then they would start using the other individuals within that area, as Mr. Cervantes pointed out.
Basically, properties facing 4th Street, if this is approved, then the properties facing 4th Street will be very likely to get the zoning as well if they apply.
And so
Because
they-
it sets precedence
So
for that.
they'd be able, and the fact that it's 3 lots is probably the exception. Most everybody right now is on a single lot, is that correct?
Actually, this is a 3 1/2 lots. So
Wow.
it's actually 1.5 lot. But yeah, if you have 2 or 3 lots facing 4th Street, then yes, you will be able to tear the house, get the zoning and tear the house down and build a duplex. But that depends on this today, the precedence that this does today.
How are they able to build a home on 3 different lots? Probably
The
without a
property
permit?
whoever owned those 3 lots, way back, he decided to split them, east and west. So it was something that was done a long time ago. I guess he owned the 3 lots and he decided to sell one half. And so that was back way, long time ago, people could do that, and they just got an attorney and they will split the property and,
The seller is the owner, or the seller of the property resides on the north side, the north half. She had no objection to what we proposed it from the very beginning, and she had no objection.
Had one phone call in opposition. That's all.
My concern is the precedents that we'll be setting. And because of the size of those lots and the density of them, when we start converting some of those smaller ones, if they're not, have the luxury of having a lot and a half, and us not having the means to be able to say no because we're allowing it, I'm concerned of what that does to those that are enjoying residential or one single dwelling. But I understand the value needed to be added, and you're stating you still work on the house. But if I were living next to that, and I was a regular residential owning, I think I would have some concerns. And you're saying no one didn't, but it was a very obvious as far as the Planning and Zoning Commission, unanimously voted against it. And I think that illegal, you're making an argument that there's a possibility that we meet it, and then there might be a possibility we may not. So it's not a clear-cut one. So I think we take an opportunity, take a chance. So, yeah.
Gray area. And
Yeah.
as I spoke to Mr. Cervantes, I think that Mr. Cervantes, within his recommendation, indicated it was apparent or appeared to be spot zoning, but I think he kind of changed after we spoke a little bit
No,
today.
it's not what, if the request was here at the corner of Iowa and Second, it will be clear spot zoning, right? Because you have single family all around. Here we have multifamily zoning to the south, so it's not real clear cut spot zoning. But if you look at the boundaries, well, we're not respecting the boundaries that were established back in 1980. So, are those boundaries still good, or?
What do we do on 7th Street?
It was denied?
Denied, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was, on that one, PNC approved it, and the commission denied it.
Okay. Any other questions? Any other statements? Thank you, sir. I'd like to go ahead and close this public hearing at 8:19. It is stated as recommended by the Planning and Zoning to deny. Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor state aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes, or denied. Item C, consider an ordinance amending ordinance number 09-22 for the purpose of establishing certain fees for services provided by the City of San Juan. Mr. Gomez.
Yes, good evening, Mayor, City Commissioners. Yes, this particular item, Mayor, we have presented presentations to the City Commission during 3 regular meetings on November the 11th, November the 25th, and November the 9th last year. And based on the analysis, we would execute the amounts. It would increase about 24,000.
Keep it down back there, please. Thank you.
It would increase about 24,500, which is about 12% for the license and permits. I mean, it's an amount. And some of the planning department fees that are being updated are the electrical subcontractor license to $60, occupational license to $40, inspection $40, the zone change request $300, conditional special use permit $300, the variance request $250, and the subdivision application $300 plus the $50 per acre. Additionally, on the alcohol fees, with license under the city secretary, are the wine and beer retailers off-premise permit of $60 per year, the wine beer retailers off-premise permit $175 per year, beer retailers off-premise license of $60 per year, the mixed beverage permit of $750 after the third year, the mixed beverage late hours of $150 first year, the beverage cartridge permit of $20 per year, retailer dealer on-site premise late hours license of $250 first year, wine-only package store $150 per year, the package store permit $500 per year, package store testing permit $25 per year, food and beverage certificate $100 per year. All other fees listed in the ordinance attached to the packet are recorded on what we currently charge. As you know, in our discussions, the last time we had an update on the city fees was in 2009. And so we will make a recommendation to adopt the ordinance amending ordinance number 0922 for the purpose of establishing certain fees for services for the city of San Juan.
I want to clarify something. Mr. Gomez, when you read the updating, the variance request states 300. When it comes to the planning department, we did lower it to 250. So
Okay.
250 is a correct rate. Is that correct? That is in the ordinance. At 250? Yes.
Okay, so we make a change to that.
And the only thing I did want to mention is I think that you did a great job in presenting the numbers and the justification. You know, it gave very quantifiable numbers, and that's what's helping me make my decision. So what I would recommend is that maybe you hang on to that, and maybe that we make it public, so when people may question the increase, it might be a little bit easier for them to understand if we're in agreement to pass this ordinance. They can understand why we were able to come to this conclusion or come to agree to increase these, because I think it's important. People may not be watching tonight or may not be aware, and so not that it'll make them feel any better, but at least they'll understand what our basis was if we are in favor of amending the ordinance or accepting the ordinance.
I do want to ask one thing under administration section 9. It says personnel, item H, personnel charge for public information request to be determined by the city secretary. Is that the time to explore each single one? Is it on special occurrences? I mean, are we charging extra for not just the paperwork, but also for the hourly? Or, I mean, it doesn't say hourly, I'm just assuming hourly.
Yes, on section 9, administration, I see the personnel charge for public information request determined by the secretary. What I can gather, Mayor, but looking at the previous ordinance, when it comes to personnel charge, and it basically, I'm sure that there's some information that cannot be categorized, and, you know,
So you've got programming personnel, other personnel charge, so then you
Right.
have something else.
yes, it's something that we can be more specific or completely.
Something to describe what that
right.
means, that it's not covered by I or J.
Right.
So that if I'm making a public records request, you know, there's not, well, okay, we're going to charge you for the copies, but I'm also going to charge you on top of that.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
that's just kind of ambiguous. I don't know.
Personnel charge.
How do we quantify that and leaving it to the discretion? Is it hourly? Is it a flat fee? and determine we're going to do it.
We can be more specific, you know, it comes to making a copy, when it comes to, basically, we can narrow it down to a specific charge instead of leaving it open.
Right, leaving it open. That's my concern.
Okay, we'll make a note of that.
I noticed here on Nate Parks and Rec Department, I see here that the youth baseball is not included. Or I may be blind, I don't know.
No, it's not there. You're right.
It's, I don't know if the fee on that, is it still the same $30, Mr. Ponce? Yeah, it's not included here, so.
Yes, we can go ahead and update and add that specific line item for the youth baseball.
That pretty much stayed the same, right? Oh.
Anything else from members of the commission?
Mayor, can I make a motion to approve contingent the changes that were discussed, if everybody's in agreement? So motion to approve contingent the changes as discussed.
Second.
All in favor state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
We'll
Thank you.
we'll need to make sure that those for the second reading, that
Yes.
those are,
We'll do that,
Yeah.
Commissioner.
thank you.
Incorporated, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Gomez.
Thank you, sir. Contractual resolutions. A, consider authorizing the interim city manager to issue a request for qualifications for architectural services for the construction of a new public safety building safety building. Chief?
Mayor?
Yes, Ms. Carmen.
Okay,
Mayor,
go ahead.
Commissioners, just to go over a little history, approximately 11 years ago, approximately a few years ago, the city purchased approximately 11 acres of land a quarter-mile east of Nebraska Avenue on the south side of Ridge Road to address the need of the police and fire department. Their growth has been very extensive, and they're still housed in an area where they're just on top of each other. At a commission meeting that was held on February 28, 2012, the commission authorized the city to go out for qualifications for architectural services. And in that year, 12 RFQs were, on March 29th, 12 RFQs came in, and the RFQ was awarded to Brinkley Sargent. Since that time, they did drawings for the department, for the police and fire, and they came in very high. They also did a need assessment that apparently did not meet the needs of the department at that point. It has been approximately 3 years now since staff received those qualifications, and since then, staff feels that other firms can better incorporate the current needs and the current and future needs of the department by going out and seeking qualifications. Maybe there is another firm that can meet not only the qualifications that the police department needs, but also the funding.
And that's what we authorized at the last workshop that we had anyway.
Yes.
Tell me the approval, if it's approved tonight, then what are the timeframes that we're looking to put the deadline for them to put their requalifications, and then be able to come forward
They're looking
before
at
the
over a
commission?
month, Mayor, because it takes 14 days to be in the paper. And then after that, we have to do the tabulation, bring it before the commission. So you're looking at about a good month and a half.
And just for clarity, we already have an assessment. We're looking for them to come in, evaluate the assessment, and then work on a design based on.
Another design, yes, based on the qualifications.
What we're able to financially
Correct.
fund and meet the needs.
Yes, correct.
Okay. Very good. Are there any questions from the members of the commission?
The only thing is that I think one of the things that really worked against us is the fact that the architect didn't have a budget. So I would like to maybe potentially identify the funding that's available so that the architect can, kind of keep that in mind as he's or he or she is working on this. I think that would be significantly helpful.
Yes, sir, Member Tim. I have Captain Casas here. Can you, can you brief the Mayor and Commission of our funds that are available through our asset forfeiture program, and just explain a little bit about the program?
currently, right now, in our federal, our asset forfeiture funds, under the federal side, we have 16 money seizures, totaling to about $2,700,000. We have 9 property seizures, and 69 vehicle seizures. Out of the 69 vehicle seizures, we have 29 are tractor trailers. So those come in a little higher, we get a little bit more of it. But just like everything else under federal seizures, we get a percentage of the money that is being awarded. Out of the 2.7 million, averaging out the percentages that we're going to get, it'd probably be about 10% of that. Of course, everything else will be averaged out upon the sale of the property. The 69 vehicle seizures, 29 tractor trailers, of course, will be getting percentages of it because it involves other agencies. Under the state side, which we have interlocal with the district attorney's office, we have 4 money seizures totaling $382,000. One of them was one of our big money seizures was for $353,000, and out of that one we struck a deal with the district attorney's office, so we're going to get 70% of that one. We had 2 property deals. We had one awarded to us recently, and we still have another property located in FAR, which is a business that has not been awarded either. The one recently awarded is in the Morningset Estates, Chief. Sunrise Estates. It's a lot. The chief has been considering, or has brought up the idea of converting it into a neighborhood park. Also all funded by federal funds or forfeiture funds. We got a couple jury cases and 23 vehicle seizures also on that one, still pending. We are about to have, we're here also to ask for some seized vehicles, that 22 seized vehicles already, that would be in a different agenda item. Those we're asking to be selling those also. We are also thinking of course, another agenda item, if we get the new vehicles, we're also going to sell our fleet, which has all been purchased also by seized money. And also we are looking at selling the seized vehicles that we are using currently. But as far as our forfeiture funds, we do have a lot of money pending that to be awarded. Of course, the federal side and the state side, when they go to court, we don't know. It could take a year, it could take a couple of months. But there is still a lot of money out there waiting to come into the city or into the police department as far as funding.
Yeah, but right now, if we have to budget for a substation, what would be that amount that we can budget for based on the, or start off the preliminary, like the mayor asked about, what's our current budget on the available as a forfeiture that we have right now?
Available, what we budgeted this year, we put $800,000 into the budget for possible. We're looking at the shelter, and we're looking at possibly doing a training center and CID center to start off with the funding, or to use the funding on.
What is the total amount that's available?
That's what I was asking Isaac a few minutes ago. Right now, in our funds, right now, in the federal side, we have 1.2 million. In the state, we have 69,000.
Portion of that to purchase new vehicles?
That is correct, Mayor Pro Tem. And one of the discussions that we had in a workshop also is that having some available funds to construct or look into constructing a substation as well, and with available funds. And I know that Commissioner Ramirez had visited the location up in Palmview, and we got some other locations that we would like for y'all to visit as well. But we're just going in hand with our projected plan of action that we had to submit to the state and the federal government as to how we're going to spend those monies. That does not mean that we're going to specifically build a substation, but we need to start the process of, again, allowing us to look into the new requirements, so forth.
I mean, I'm go back to the statement that I made when looking at this at the workshop. I think it's obvious we don't have the money to build it. Doesn't mean that the forfeiture money cannot be used to begin the process. I think one of the first one is hiring the architect to make the renditions and drawings. One of the other things that we can invest of the money that we have for forfeiture to be able to meet for the deadline that you have of December 2015 is to begin the infrastructure work as well. That is part of what we can invest to prepare the land to be able to build on it. That's going to be done no matter what you put on that property. That, I'm not sure if Ronnie would be able to, Mr. Cruz could look at that simultaneously. If it's 250,000 to 300,000, but what I think what could happen is by bringing the infrastructure into the property, we also have the problem of the neighborhood there with the flooding. Is there a way that we could begin to look at numbers of what it would cost us to bring the infrastructure, be able to start that along with hiring the architects to make the design, and that would put us very close to being able to, we're going to do that no matter what we build, but to be able to lay the groundwork as we are figuring out the long-term funding, because to make sure that we meet the deadline. So I don't believe in a substation. That's my opinion. I think we need that public safety building. I think we need to make it work. I believe we need to look at the funding seriously, but I don't think that we have to, we should spend the money on something we're not necessarily wanting, and maybe you do, and that might be your recommendation, just so that we can spend the money. I think there's different ways that we can invest on that land to prepare it and make it ready, so when that building and that funding comes, it's going to be prepared. And I think we can simultaneously look at the infrastructure and placement, get some numbers on those, and then get the architects in to be able to give us assessment of look at the assessment and give us a rendition of what it would do, because we can't figure out what it's going to cost us until the architect says, this is sitting with us, this is what it's going to look like. Once we know what it's going to look like, we know what it's going to cost. But we're not there yet. But I think that for the time of saving time is authorizing for simultaneous projects to start. And we could, I would think easily we would be able to fit the infrastructure. And at the same time, although it's forfeiture money for that, it might help on relief of what's needed on the adjacent neighborhood.
We looked into that when the other architect was on the line. Water and sewer, you're available. It's in front and sideways, it's all over the place.
But running the
drainage
the
is the
drainage.
issue. And we did look into it, and it would have, you know, if we do that, we would have to fix the flores. It has to be all the way to Dominic Park, basically. But I know we've looked at it, been 2 or 3 years ago, but I'll look at it again. Yeah.
But that we're going to have to come up with a cost of what it is to build it. It's not going to come for forfeiture. But I think the groundwork and then to be able to move this project forward can definitely be funded by the forfeiture that you have. Plus, you're going to dip into it with the requests on vehicles from your proposal. So I truly believe that we need to go forward on this public safety building. We've invested a time. I'd like to invest in bringing someone to help us design it with our police department and be able to move that. So that's my recommendation.
You mentioned on that workshop, on that substation, we're looking about what, about 500,000 you said?
Yeah,
roughly?
Commissioner, one of the substation we're looking at is a design that's up in the Palm Beach area, and it houses, has pretty good square footage and stuff like that, and the total cost of that was 500,000. So that is one of the buildings that we're looking at, you know, and I've shared this with my staff, and they've shared this with me as well. We're looking at something that maybe phase it into the bigger public safety building. But if we're going to start off with something as we go along, we start phasing it in.
Yeah, and
in phases, yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but that was something that I was going to suggest too, you know. In my opinion, something needs to be done right away, because I feel for these officers. You guys are doing a wonderful job, and I appreciate that, and all the citizens of San Juan appreciate that. So something needs to be done. in reference to the substation, that was my question. Is there a way where you can be able, I'm more than sure we can, you can tack on wings?
Create a modular type building that you can then continue to add on. And I've seen several smaller communities build their police stations that way. In fact, we just saw one when we were up in the Houston area where they began with, you know, the immediate needs of officers, offices, desks, and space, but not necessarily a jail, because that's, as we learned, building a new jail facility is where it eats up a lot of the expense. And so we may be able to build a facility that we can move officers in immediately and still continue to use our jail on the north side. And then as funding permits, we're able to continue to build over here. And I think that one of the things that you had mentioned, Chief, also in the workshop, was the need for more training facilities as well, like indoor gun range and things of that nature. And so maybe we can start addressing some of the components, but design it in a modular way where you can start with, you know, like I said, office space, maybe the indoor gun range, as you mentioned, but leave it in such a way where you can continue to build on. And I think that's also something to consider, to not only address our immediate needs. So I agree with Commissioner Garza that we really need to address those needs immediately. But we're also looking, as the mayor said, to a long-term solution. And I think that it can be done, and we can do that, you know, sooner rather than later.
Yeah, because, I mean, just based on what I've seen over there at the department, you guys are just packed like sardines, excuse me, but it's pretty bad, and I mean, we need to do something right away. So, I mean, that's my opinion. And as far as having this, you know, substation, I think it would be a good idea, or we can build around it. Not only that, I've been approached by citizens from the south side, you know, looking into maybe having some kind, I'm not saying that y'all don't have police presence out here on the south side, but, you know, some kind of movement over here. So, you know, that's my opinion in reference to that, but.
We need to start building a substation on the south side. We have the money, why not use it? You know, we had it for almost 2 years. You're still there, we gotta use it and just start adding it to the sides, you know, a real nice front. Start with a real nice front and make a substation.
We're gonna look into all that, commissioners, and Mayor Pro Tem, and as well, we take everybody's, you know, feedback into consideration. I think it's very necessary for us that my staff is here, and I think that we need to, if we're gonna build a substation, it has to be something that's gonna be phased into the bigger part of the building, you know, and I think that taking its, and the needs right now, obviously in any public safety building, the most costly item there is a jail, and but we're gonna still use our facilities up in the north side. But I think that the city is growing. The traffic on North Raul Longoria is really hectic at times in the afternoon, and right now we do have our personnel permanent on the south side as well. But I think that having something available for our citizens on the south side is going to be a tremendous impact and a positive thing for our residents on the south side. But we need to do something with that, with the monies that we have, and not to be overzealous about it, but also just look at the needs assessment of the department, what we can afford and not afford. And maybe most of the money might go into the infrastructure, but at least we have a plan of action. And the most important thing, I think our staff will see that we're moving forward on getting them a new public safety building. That's what it's for.
So when you're talking about this substation, okay, you're talking about a building from what are you basing your 500,000 on?
No, we're just basing the 500,000 on the building that we saw, Mayor, and basically what the amount of personnel they have. They even house a fire truck and a couple of firefighters inside that building. So permanently, they have somebody there also available on the fire side. This is something that I discussed with the fire chief as well.
Would you agree with me that you still need an architect company to come a firm to come and take a look at these.
Sure, yeah, we need to.
One way or another.
Yes, yeah.
And you're not gonna have once, if you look at, I think to make this decision of what you're proposing is to, one, the design, and two, the infrastructure, before you say, 800,000 is enough to build a substation. Because we don't know that. We
Yeah,
don't know
it
that.
can cost us more.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so we're still going to have to look into funding.
And I
So
would
what is the
say-
difference between funding, we don't know that, where the funding for a $4 million facility or a 500,000, if you think that that's what it is, we don't know where that gray area or where that number falls. Because of the work that has to be done, be it a substation or be it a full facility, it's still, the initial work still has to be done, and that's by design, and that's going to be by infrastructure. And then the next phase becomes the funding of an actual building.
And I would say with an architect, they'll be able to design a substation in such a way that it could be built onto, it could be built in modular fashion. And so I still think that that's going to be key as well, is to bring in someone to guide us in that process and really look at it in that way, and that we want to build something for our immediate needs with the plan to build something that is going to meet our long-term needs as well.
And I think keeping in mind that when that police station was built, it was built just to meet immediate needs, and look what's happened, and look where we are. That's
Chief.
what I'm looking at.
So you're gonna be able to put a fire truck in there too, or?
Well, that's just a discussion that we had with the fire chief, I think that it's gonna come down to the fact that how big we can build the actual substation if we go that route. What we can house there, what type of elements, the fire department, our personnel. But I think it's gonna come down to that, the available monies that we're gonna have available to start the process. I think that we're asking only here to move forward, and.
For the
yes,
architectural services.
For the architectural,
And once we
yeah.
speak with them and come up with those numbers,
Yes.
we can't make these decisions on what you're gonna do until we have the design and be able to look at the availability of the land and the resources. So
Correct.
what is being proposed today is to go out for request for qualifications for architectural services. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
All in favor state aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you very much. B, consider authorizing the interim city manager to declare seized vehicles as salvage property and authorize the auction of the seized vehicles. Ms. Gonzalez.
Item Mayor, 22, excuse me, there's 22 vehicles that the police department is asking to salvage. If it is approved, they will be taken to bond, where they will be auctioned, or they're there for your approval to go ahead and auction them off.
Any questions?
Chief, on these vehicles, or Captain, on these vehicles, none of them are the ones, I guess what I'm saying is we're not selling something that we haven't replaced yet. Okay. You'll come back with, okay. Okay, and you'll come back later for the ones that we're decommissioning, for lack of a better term. Okay.
Is there a motion for approval as presented?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Item C, consider authorizing the interim city manager to solicit seal bid for 2015 Toyota Tundras for the Special Investigation Division. Ms. Gonzalez.
Mayor, staff looked into this one real carefully because there are buy-board vendors that sell Tundras, but in getting quotes, we found that they're $3,000 higher. If we were to go out to bid, it would be $3,000 less. So I think going into the bid process would be better for
piece?
this. Yes.
Okay. That's why you're recommending them
Yes,
separately as the others.
we're recommending going on. And the feeling is that we can get them here locally. We want to put a cap on it, Mayor and Commissioners, of 160,000. I think we can get what we are looking for, the 160,000, if we spec it out that way.
And these, Captain, here, these are unmarked, right?
Yes.
And Chief, these were the only ones that you were requesting?
No, Mayor, the other one's on the next item.
No, on the Tundras.
Yes, yes.
All right, is there a motion for approval as presented?
So moved.
Who went first?
Commissioner Garcia.
Second? Was-
Second?
All in favor state aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Item D, consider authorizing the interim city manager to purchase 6 Ford Fusions in the amount of $106,834 from Caldwell Country Ford from Caldwell, Texas, 2015 Chevrolet Silverado crew cabs in the amount of $62,421.50 and 2015 Dodge Durangos in the amount of $78,269.50 from Holiday Ford and Holiday Chevrolet. From Whitesboro, Texas, buy board vendors for the total amount of $250,525. Chief, just for, I'm sorry, go ahead, and then I'll ask Chief the question. What's something you wanted to share?
Staff is requesting 14 vehicles. They have vehicles that are over 100, well, we put 100,000, but they're a lot more mileage on them. These are all by board. We could get them right away. They do have the funding for it. It's out of the forfeiture fund, the state and federal. Staff is requesting authorization.
And that amount, is that fully equipped, Captain?
Yeah, these vehicles are not gonna have the standard lights as the marked units. They're just gonna have a couple lights up front, a couple lights in back, so it's not gonna be anything.
Not a patrol type vehicle.
Not the $5,000 that's spent on a normal vehicle that we have to equip.
And they're gonna be unmarked, so there's not gonna be any decaling on it or anything.
And Chief,
The most expensive thing on it would probably be the radio.
all right. And this is about half of what y'all had presented at the last one, is that correct?
Yes, I believe the last time we presented, it was like 24 vehicles. We dropped it down to 14.
Very good. Are there any questions?
Mayor,
Go
for
ahead.
clarification on the record, I don't know if Ms. Gonzalez said for the 2015 Chevrolet Silverado, or Mr. Commissioner, oh, I'm sorry, the mayor, I'm sorry, it wasn't Ms. Gonzalez. We heard 62,000, it should be 65,421.50, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, I wasn't sure if you
That was
said that.
intentional. I don't want to discount it.
Keep everybody on the toes.
Okay. Thank you for that correction. If there are no other questions, is there a motion for approval? Is there a second? All in favor state aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners, for your support. Appreciate it.
Item E, consider resolution authorizing the San Juan Police Department to submit an application for funding to the Texas Department of Public Safety in the amount of $120,000 under the Local Border Security Program fiscal year 2015-2016. Ms. Borrego?
Yes. As stated, it'll be $120,000. It's reimbursable monthly. It'll last from February 1st, 2015 to August 31st, 2015, and it will be paying for overtime for narcotics violations, human smuggling, and other violent crimes. Any other questions?
Are there any questions? Not, is there a motion for approval? Is there a second?
Second.
Who's second, please?
Commissioner Garcia.
All in favor state aye.
Aye.
And please note on the record that Mr. Mario Garza is not in that particular vote. Okay. Under consent agenda, approval of minutes, December the 9th, 2014. Did I take a vote? Yes, I did, right?
Yes.
December the 9th, 2014, regular meeting, December 10th, 2014, work session, December 18th, 2014, special called meeting. Wait a minute. Item B, monthly collection report, November 30th, 2014, budget expenditure report as of November 30th, 2014. Consider second and final reading of an ordinance for a conditional use permit to operate a mechanic shop in a general business district for the property legally described as Lot 1, Cadena Valley subdivision located at 306 East US Business 83, as requested by John Aurelio Cadena. I'd like to tender the minutes to Ms. Ramirez.
Motion to approve as presented?
Okay, I am going to pull one from the list before we finish on the vote. I want to discuss the budget expenditure report, Mr. Gomez. I know that the numbers are reflecting as of November 30th, and I'm just going to ask you in a few, so you can give me, or give the commission, I particularly have the questions on some of the items that are already at 100% or more
All right.
on expenditure. I'd like to start on page number 7. Under utility billing and salaries, we are at purchase professional and technical services. We're at 141% expended on that. What seems,
Yes, on that one, Mayor, it was, there was a rental of the Pitney Bowes equipment.
okay,
And from my understanding, there was a PO that came in, which is a 15,050.
okay.
And so.
It was not budgeted for then?
It was not budgeted for it. Yes, it's for a PO. It basically, it was an upgrade of the whole folding machine, postage machine, copier. And so there was, the rental fees were a little more expensive than the projected, and that's
It's
the
not something that could have been anticipated, it was a breakdown, is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay, under fire purchase, fire and technical services, we're already, it's $5,000, but we're already at 101% expended on that. What does that seem to be?
What page is that, Mayor?
Is it, under fire, page number 2?
Okay, page number 2.
Mm-hmm. 5,000 was allotted, that's already been spent and then over. Does that cover a annual fee and then it will not be touched again? It is fire under purchase, professional and technical services. Is that a one-time fee? Okay, very good. Under streets and alleys, I'm looking at supplies, and that's kind of unusual, but maybe you can explain. We are already at supplies. We're at 55.18. Do you purchase everything up front, being that it's only November?
Right, there's, what we do, Mayor, when it comes to the process, we have a PO system, and what we do, we know whether purchases are coming up. We encumbered, basically, early on. So a lot of these expenditures are because of the POs already being processed and entered into the system. And so, for instance, a contract is already entered as a PO, and it gets deducted as we pay it off. And so it's one of the reasons that you see is 55%, because 20 of that 35,273.43, but we actually have spent it is 19,890. So it's an encumbered amount of 23,000.
And Mr. Gomez, when we're looking at the adjustments will be made within the department's budget before we start looking at any type of amending of our overall budget. Is that correct?
Correct, yes.
Okay, because I'm looking at page 4, under informational technology. We've got capital outlay, we're at 328%.
Yes.
That was not budgeted for.
Yes, on those, basically on the information technology, as you can see, there's a negative amount, I guess, of 5,016. And what it was a purchase of equipment. I believe there was on Frontera Consulting, is that right, Mr.?
Okay. 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 Under item utility, this is on expenditure summary, utility building and collection section, page 7. Professional services, we're at 141%.
141% on utility bill collections?
Purchase professional and technical services.
Okay, on page 7, correct?
Yes. We didn't anticipate.
Yeah, what it is on this particular item, Mayor, basically a lot of encumbrance amount. And so that's what you see on that's on the equipment that we just discussed, that on the Pitney Bowes. And it is part of the, this particular item includes the Pitney Bowes rentals,
What
includes
now?
Pitney Bowes.
Okay, mail.
Yes. Yeah, so it is part of the folding machine, is part of the rental machine that came in with.
We just didn't anticipate it? We didn't? We didn't, what
I
happened?
need to verify the PO exactly, because I know that what it is on this particular PO, that we're breaking it into the utility and also into the general fund. So we have a percentage of the breakup. And so we need to verify it, to make sure that what is allocated to the utility fund and what's allocated to the general fund is the correct proportion. And so it's something that, we need to check on that particular PO, because it gets broken down for the usage. In top of my head, 40%